Welcome to the Sunday show. Welcome to the line where it's Sunday after dark. We got the tunes pumping. We got the people who are even too old to be in the night at the Roxbury show. But we know what that is.
Listen, the greatest country in the world, the greatest country ever conceived, just turned 250, and I'm hyped about it. Paul, I'm hyped about it. We're 250 years of crushing it, of absolutely crushing the game. Still don't have healthcare, don't need it. Still racist as frig. Cool with that, because that's what's the DNA of the country. Okay, still hate outsiders unless they marry the president. That's cool. We're crushing it. The pool is blue, all right? And the Vandals are lying and trying to make it seem like it's not. And we're crushing it. Okay, 250. Let's go. You know what I'm saying?
All the biggest problems in America have been caused by box cutters, obviously, and one of them is this pool situation.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Mm-hmm. So the question for those of us outside of America is often... how many are you going? You're at 250 now. It doesn't necessarily seem like you're going for 300.
I don't know what you're talking about. We're killing it. We're going for infinity. Never gonna die. We're gonna upload our consciousness to the cloud in the data centers, and all the data centers are gonna be country, and it's all gonna be America. Once you're uploaded to the cloud, everyone is straight, white, American, and Christian. And that's how it's going to be. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Very good. Well, this is the Sunday show after dark, where we like to talk about, on the Sunday shows, at least these ones, we like to primarily talk about what you believe and why. And the two of us here, we are not believers in your God. You name the God. Be it Thor, be it Zeus, be it the three monkeys with with covering their eyes and their ears and stuff. We don't believe in those as gods. We don't believe in Allah. We don't believe in the Christian God. Whatever God you espouse, we currently do not believe, but that could change this very night. We are open to having our minds changed. If you come to us with an argument or evidence or something along those lines, or if you can invoke, maybe you should pray right now so that when your call is answered, that the Holy Spirit will do some kind of, give Austin and I some kind of vision so that we can have an experience like you've had. Or perhaps, I am currently drinking a hot beverage. It is coffee. If your God changes this coffee into a different beverage, I assume he could do that. While I'm listening to the show, that would go a long way. I think these are all things that are doable and possible for those of you out there who believe. So
somebody in the chat said the Quran is way worse. Why not talk about that? Why not? Call in. Tell us why Christianity and the Bible is so superior to the Quran and Islam, and then convince us to convert to Christianity. If you're like, hey, just quit dogging on the Bible, quit dogging on Christianity, sell us whatever line you want. We are here for you to make your case.
Exactly.
Tell us
why we said that's why whatever God you espouse is the one that we want to talk about. The fact that I'm a former Christian means nothing. Bring your God with you to the call. Hopefully your God can advise you while you're on the call. to tell you what to say and how to get. So we're starting to get a few calls in the queue being screened, so that's great news. But the link is in the description. The number is on the screen to get in the queue and to call. Theists always get priority, but if you're a non-believer like us and you have something particularly enlightening to say or ask, we may get to it. We may or may not. We can't promise, but we would love to chat with you. Austin, it's been a minute. What is going on in your spiritual life? How's your spiritual journey?
My spiritual journey is solid. I'm feeling good right now. You talked about how many different deities people could call in. If like, I also want to hear today, if your deity is the one true God, Taylor Swift, call in and let me know about that, because I made the mistake yesterday, Paul. I'd never done this before.
Uh-oh.
I publicly go after the MAGA cult a lot. I publicly go after conservatism and just sort of the American political system in general. And I do a lot of socio-political commentary and advocacy for leftist values online. But I rarely, I every once in a while, I dabble in pop culture. I made a joke about
You
Taylor's.
dabble in pop culture.
I dabble in pop culture.
Okay.
I have a podcast where I talk about movies with my
Indeed,
friend
that's what
every
I was
week.
gonna say. Okay, so you're being hyperbolic. Carry
Yeah,
on.
but I
Carry on.
made fun of Taylor Swift yesterday, and I was not prepared for the ferocity, the absolute unhinged, unrestrained insanity of the Taylor Swift mob. They came in droves, and they really put the MAGA cult to shame. I'm used to like running afoul of different cults and believers that get mad when you make fun of their god king. I was not prepared for the backlash of the Swift cult, and also like the I mean, no offense, I'm just reporting on what I witnessed, sort of like the unapologetic stupidity and like anti-intellectualism of the Swift cult. I made a joke in this post because, first of all, there were all these signs all over New York City, all over Times Square and outside of Madison Square Garden. The graphic design they chose to go with was just ampersand T. So when you read it, it says just and T married. And what it's supposed to be, I guess, is like just T and T married, because Taylor and Travis, it's supposed, but it just looks like an ad for AT&T. It looks like AT&T did a merger with a company, and they're saying like, "Hey, AT&T just married Disney or something." I don't know, but also like it's just bad graphic design because it just reads weird. And so I sort of made this joke post where I was like, Justin T used up all of the power grid in New York City for my billionaire wedding. Just and T sprouted horns and started screaming incantations in Aramaic over the altar. Just like doing things that are obviously hyperbolic and like making fun of it. And all of these people in the comments were like, do you have a source that she actually started speaking in Aramaic at the wedding? Like, is that something that you actually think happened? And I was like, are you serious? Like, they were genuinely like, people were in my comments going like, she didn't do that. She didn't speak in Aramaic at the
Like
wedding.
that needs to be clarified.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, I don't think she actually did that. You know that I don't think she actually. One person said, "Do you know that Aramaic is the language that Jesus spoke in?" And like as if to be like, "So are you saying that she's Jesus?" And I was like, "Yeah, I used like an old dead language for comedic effect to be like, wouldn't it be funny if at the wedding she did this?" Obviously, I'm not claiming she actually did that, but it was like I got like 600 comments from different people in this cult. So if you are a member of the cult of Swift, I would also welcome your call today and just see how you're doing. Like your god was married yesterday on the 4th of July, very patriotic wedding. Are you rejoicing? How are you celebrating? What's going down in your life? You know,
Look, Austin, I've always liked you, and I don't want to start the show off with conflict, but I feel like you need some tough love right at the moment. What may be known about Taylor Swift is plain to you. You are suppressing the swiftiness in unrighteousness. This sounds like this is not an argument issue with you, Austin. You have not rejected it because of something intellectual. Taylor Swift has hurt you.
It sounds personal. You're saying
it sounds. I'm just telling you. We know that everyone loves Taylor Swift. It's written. Her lyrics are written on your heart.
Yeah.
You are suppressing the swiftiness in unrighteousness, and I just feel sad for you. And I hope that by the end of the show that you can just admit that it's because Taylor has hurt you. Perhaps you had hoped to be Travis yesterday.
Yeah. I did get a lot of comments like that. I'm not even joking. I get a lot of comments of people being like, "Wow, it's so crazy what like hurt, jealous people will do." Like the ways that
shoot, I thought I was doing yeah.
I got a lot of comments of people telling me that I was off my meds and I needed to like go seek professional help because I made a joke about their favorite billionaire. And you know, and like I was like, yeah, nothing's healthier than defending your parasocial relationship with a billionaire over a sock puppet account. Like that's you are the paragon of mental health right now. But people telling me I needed to get back on my meds, people telling me I needed to seek professional help, people telling me that I was jealous and butthurt and like just lashing out because something was unhealed in me. I was like the anger and the ferocity of it, I was not prepared for. It really outmatched the MAGA responses that I'm used to getting. It was really surprising, genuinely.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
All right. Well, are you ready for some calls? We've already got some queued up. I think we may as well jump in. What do you think?
We might as well get into it. We got some good ones here. I think number one looks good, or number two.
Well, let's start with always good to start with premise number one. We got Jay on the line from Texas. Welcome to the line with Austin and Paul. How are you tonight? Can you hear me, Jay? You might have to. Oh, you're very, very, very quiet.
Okay, how's that?
There you go.
How are you, Jay?
Is that better? Okay. I'm doing good right now. How are y'all?
Doing all right.
Okay. So it says you're an agnostic who's a fan of the Bible.
Well, I think that I'm starting to kind of realize as, you know, I hear more of your programs, your shows and stuff, that it's maybe mostly because of what I'm used to growing up. So there's a few cracks where I've noticed that it's starting to lead me a little bit away to doubt how God or the Bible was presented to me from the Jehovah's Witness. But I still find some helpful, you know, some tidbits that are probably not too terrible, I guess, or that help some people.
Okay, so what do you mean? What do you mean by helpful in this scenario? Because I feel like if the three of us all have different ideas of what the word helpful means, we may not be able to have a good conversation. So, what does helpful mean to you in this scenario?
I guess I guess it would be something that could possibly work or be agreed upon by most people, since everybody does have different opinion of like, oh, well, this is helpful, but the other person might be like, oh, that didn't help me out, so it's not helpful. And
but
something that could
you understand that a show of hands doesn't actually indicate much about helpfulness, right? Unless you just want to say, hey, this is a book that a lot of people like, so you could point to, you know, Sherlock Holmes books in the day. A lot of people sure liked those.
Right.
So they're helpful. That doesn't necessarily follow.
Right. Yeah. That's true. Yeah, that is a good point. Well, let me see. I guess it would be for each personal person, I suppose. If it has a message that's similar, where is found somewhere else. I know that I have talked to Owen and asked him a similar question, and he mentioned that, well, this has been found in other writings more ancient than the Bible, where you love your neighbor or you help,
Yeah,
treat others like
that's
you want to be
partly why I'm
treated.
asking, because
And
if you mean something that brings unique ideas to the table, I don't think the Bible is your book.
right, yeah. I guess my thing that I'm not too well sure about or wondering is, it seems that when that topic is brought up like that, where, well, this was found in ancient texts before the Bible, or this is not specific to only the Bible, it seems like they're saying that because of that, then all of a sudden, love your neighbor as yourself or whatever, all of a sudden that's really no good, or the whole Bible is bad or irrelevant or something like that. And I guess,
Sure, but you understand that having a kernel of a good thing wrapped in a whole lot of bad things isn't great, right? Like if you order Uber Eats and
yeah,
you want, a piece of
right,
chicken, but it comes in a
yeah,
bucket full of vomit, what are you complaining about? There's some chicken in there. It's like, well, that may
right,
not be the best way to get me the chicken.
Yeah, and I think
that's good.
I
Yeah,
think also, like, starting from a place of asking the question, what is helpful, because it seems like, oh, it's sort of self-evident, like anything that the individual subjectively finds helpful, but we need to weigh it against harm, right? So let's say that I'm a person who has like a
mm,
very loud voice in my head that wants to physically harm other people and commit murder. And it's helpful for me to carry out those desires because it quiets the voices. So it's useful to give me a little bit of inner peace, but is it helpful to the people that I'm harming? Like, is leaning into, that's a very extreme example, but I think I come up with that to try to say, like, yes, helpful is subjective, but can we weigh it against the harm that it's doing? So if one story from the Bible is giving you some kind of comfort or helping you contextualize an experience you're grappling with existentially, does that subjective relief you're experiencing, does it offset the harm that is being done to entire communities under the banner of biblical texts and biblical stories,
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's a good point. That's true. That's true. You would have to kind of compare and weigh that out to see, like, is there more helpful advice or more harmful advice, or equally, or whatever. Yeah, that's true. I, I guess, that's a tough one, man. The only thing that I point is specific cherry picking things, and I know that's not always helpful, but I guess for me it would be if I read a different book, a self help book, or some other literature where I can use something helpful that not only I think is good, but also might benefit another person without harming them.
Yeah.
I guess I'm starting to kind of see the Bible in that kind of sense, where let me pick the good things and then not completely say, well, the whole Bible is inspired by God. The whole Bible is good, because I'm
Yeah, yeah,
noticing
yeah.
these other.
Yeah, it's like if I showed you a book and I was like, "Hey, this really like cool psychologist that I like wrote this book, this self-help book that has these steps of how to like organize your life in a way that a lot of people have found really helpful." And then I said, like, the caveat is, like, because of this book, a lot of people have like shunned their kids and put their kids into situations where they're unhoused and don't have food and don't have shelter and don't have money. And a lot of people have like died by suicide because of uh things that are talked about in this book. And also, like, entire wars, like entire nations have gone to war over what's written in this book. But some
Yeah,
people find it pretty helpful. You would have to weigh that,
yeah,
you have to do a cost benefit analysis of, like, does the harm outweigh the potential
right.
benefit of what's in the book? I'm curious, Jay, do you have like specific stories from the Bible that you found helpful in your life?
Um, well, golly, man. I don't know if I have never really been good at specifically remembering exactly verse and book, just from a childhood point of view, what I've been used to. However, I can remember certain things, but I can't pinpoint like, oh, this was in this book said by Jesus or not Jesus or Matthew, whatever, 12, 10, whatever. I can't say, but I just know that um, growing up, my parents were in it quite a bit, and then later they kind of moved away from it, but they have not stopped using whatever they felt was beneficial. And we didn't turn out to be crazy, war people or whatever. I think just mainly the stories of like when Jesus says, "Love your neighbor as yourself." Even though a bunch of Christians, especially now, are not really following that.
Okay. So that's not even really a story. That's just advice, right?
Right.
So
Yeah,
you sound like
true.
you're pro good advice. Sorry about my pup. And it seems like you could have been read as a child. They could have read you virtually any story that was child friendly, and that you'd have been. It seems like you're nostalgic, maybe because it was part of your childhood. Like, is that fair?
I thought about that, and I'm thinking back, and I said that that's a possibility because I did question at one point. I mentioned this, I can't remember when, one time that I called, that I did question when I got older if I believed what I say I believe because I'm used to it, or do I really believe it? And that's when I started,
Like it seems like someone who grew up on seems like someone who grew up on Mr. Rogers would have had roughly the same morality system that you have, right? I'm gonna let Austin talk because my dog's.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, maybe that does seem to be more closer to it. That it's like, well, it made me feel good, and they didn't teach me to like, hate this person because they're a certain color or because they're LGBTQ. So I didn't experience that kind of thing. And I don't want to make it sound to where like, oh, my version was the correct one compared to the Mormons or whatever, or Methodist. But is it possible that maybe also the interpretation of the individual receiving the message from the pastor, or the pastor themselves, how they interpret something, and all of a sudden it gets more dangerous, I suppose, if they start,
Sure. That's one of the but that's one of the number one issues with scripture and just any kind of religious text is personal subjective interpretation. That with the Bible alone, just in the last several thousand years, the amount of different opinions on what specific stories and passages literally mean and how they are meant to be implemented in real life. There are as many different opinions on them as there are people who have read them. And it really seems like there is no unifying theory of what that text is actually saying or how it is actually meant to be implemented. It sounds like, Jay, like you've got a pretty generalized view of like, hey, I was raised by people who used this text as the cornerstone of their life's philosophy, and those people were pretty decent people. It sounds like you're like, I was raised by some pretty decent theists, some pretty decent Christians who were generous and thoughtful and kind people for the most part. And I think that a lot of people in our audience, myself, we understand that experience. You mentioned our interpretation versus the Mormon one. I was raised Mormon, and I was raised around a lot of decent people who really they value service, and they value generosity and kindness and curiosity, and being friendly and being welcoming. But it's a thing where, when it's been 20 years since I've been a part of that group, and I still am friends with a lot of those people. I have close relationships with them. The thing that stops me from going back and joining them is just that at the end of the day, I feel like the net harms that their ideology has done outweigh the benefit of, like, well, they're nice people. Because I also believe that they're capable of
Right.
being nice people without it. I think that the way I try to live my life is I take the stuff that I learned from those people in my community, and I'm able to apply that stuff just as well, living a secular lifestyle. I
Mm.
still really love finding opportunities to be of service. I love finding opportunities to be friendly and welcoming and curious and generous.
Yeah.
And I learned that stuff from my parents and from the adults in my community. But I can do that without having to believe that, God cursed people with dark skin because they were sinful, and their descendants are people who have
Oh,
more
right.
melanin in their skin than I do. That's something that comes from the one of the central texts of the religion I was raised in. And I don't need to carry that
Yeah, I've
kind of
heard that.
poison around in me or deal with that. And yeah, so I think that, like, what you're talking about is people coming together in community and seeing the value of kindness. And and I and I don't think that has anything. I don't think the Bible has a monopoly on that in any way. If anything, I would argue that the Bible is a hindrance to our inclination to be kind to each other in community. But yeah, like I get where you're coming from in general. It just doesn't seem like the specifics are there.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, that's very good. I get that. I understand. I guess it would be to kind of weigh, like you said, and wonder if a person does a lot of little bad things, but then they do one big great thing. We can't forget those terrible things that he may have done or she may have done, or just because they did the one good thing. But we do acknowledge that, well,
Mm.
they did this good thing, right? Or if they did a lot of little good things, but one terrible thing, all of a sudden we discredit and be like, no, he's always been terrible. She's always been bad. Look at all the little good things, but he
So
did
Jay,
one
if I
big bad thing. So now, yeah.
Jay, if I may, I think I would just want to quickly share before we move on the two things that I think the Bible actually is helpful at uniquely. One is that it has actually provides us with a common myth. It gives us, it actually does. I feel like societies bond best when they have some common stories, some common mythology, and to the extent when America and the West were being raised on Bible stories, we could have some of that common. You can use, Daniel and the Lion's Den. You can use some of those shorthands for stories. It's a little bit too bad
Right.
that we're losing some of that. But you know what? Again, as you say, that is like so tiny compared to all the other things. And it's also not true. And we have
Right.
better writers writing better stories. And it's cool. Although it's weird in this internet age that, like, teens and other kids aren't all being raised on, unless you count Bluey, there isn't a common mythology for all these kids. But the second thing it does is it really is good for compliance. So if you're a government and you want to have people comply with what you're doing, appealing to a God, a big brother who's watching over you all the time, uh, you know, uh, he's watching what you look at. He's watching your browser history, and he's watching you whether you sneak a candy bar at the store. That's a useful
Right.
big brother thing. But again, not true. So
Yeah. Yeah.
those are the only two uniquely helpful things that I think the Bible has given us, and we
Mm.
should probably replace them with better options. That's my thought anyway. Before we let you go, was
Yeah.
there anything you really wanted to advocate for, that the Bible, that if the Bible went away, we would all lose? What would we all lose that would be important?
Right. Well, I don't think that at this point I have an answer for that. I thought that far. It's one of those things where once I hang up or the next day I might be like, oh, hey, I didn't ask him about this, but it may not still be enough, because I'm still feeling a little weird. I don't know why. This is something that I have. I'm still a little nervous, even though I've called already more than once. But yeah, I guess maybe what I need is Matt to yell at me. I remember when I called one time with Promise, and she said that once time she heard like Matt yelling about the doubt she had, and that helped her realize, oh my gosh, she was an atheist. Then maybe I need Matt to yell at me to become an atheist.
Well,
I don't know.
the trouble
Maybe
is you
that'll
back
help, but,
down. If you were still here advocating that the Bible was you, I don't think either of us have it in you to yell at you because you've been so thoughtful
Yeah.
about your answers. What you need to do is come in and be obstinate and not allow new information to change your mind. So if you want to be yelled at, pick a better strategy, I think.
Yeah,
But if you want to have a nice
a little
conversation,
more-
this is great.
we love yelling at people, but people who deserve it. You've been lovely, Jay.
Okay.
So
Okay, so we like more
All right, Jay.
aggressive, or yeah, but you're not listening. No, but Trump. Yeah, but listen.
well,
Maybe
it is funny that you say that though, because I have to remind people of this all the time. Anytime I get a little too angry or a little too mean in my content, I always get like a little pushback from people in my family or even sometimes people in my audience who go like, "You seem a little angrier lately. Is everything okay?" And I'm kind of like, "Yeah, if you've been paying attention to the world, I am a little angrier lately. Why aren't you angry?" Is my question. Why are you sitting comfortable with everything that's going on? But also, I always point out to people that like I've seen many, many times over the years that I've been doing this as my job that sometimes what is required to get someone to listen and to get someone to see your side is a softer touch, and sometimes it's a sledgehammer. And I've seen both work. Yeah. And I really am a big believer in a diversity of tactics. And sometimes when the softer approach doesn't work, the heavy voice needs to come out. And
it's actually often not either or for me. I needed Seth Andrews and Christopher Hitchens. I needed both of them, or not Christopher Hitchens, George Carlin. I needed George Carlin and Seth Andrews in my life to so you need both sometimes. So yes, multiplicity of tactics for sure. And I'm Canadian, so I never appear angry, even though I am constantly angry.
Okay. Yeah, I see that. I understand. Yeah. Oh, that's good.
All right, Jay.
Man,
thanks so much.
Yeah.
And did you have a last word?
No, just thanks to you guys for taking this time and being patient. I see how great you are at, even though you get a bad call at one point where you're yelling, the next caller you're able to calm down and all that. And thanks to Lux and everything. So that's it for now, guys. Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Keep going, Jay. I feel like you're on the right track. I feel like yeah. Take care. It's interesting. It's like it's that's a great example of just that's a nice call to start off with, because it's a simple example of just someone. Yeah, it's just like there's just a basic level of unexamined depth to the issue, where it's just sort of like, in my life, I've seen people who use the Bible as a cornerstone for their ideology and their behavior do really good things. So what's wrong with that? It's like, cool. Let's just ask deeper questions. Would those people be capable of behaving that way without the Bible? Is there any other organization of community that they could subscribe to where they could learn those same lessons without also having to believe in all of or deal with all of the other things that contradict those nice lessons and morals from the Bible that are also in the Bible? And just further probing to go, what specifically in this book are you referring to that caused this good behavior? And like having the answer be, honestly, I don't even know. I don't know. It's like, cool. So ask those questions, instead of just assuming that it all originates from this. I think a lot of people, their knowledge of the Bible, there's a lot of assumptions about like, well, it's been around for as long as it's been. It must be better than you guys are giving it credit for. It sure has convinced a lot of seemingly good people that it's a solid read. So why wouldn't it be? Yeah. And we're here to be convinced. I mean, like, if our callers that are on the line, if you've got the case for what Jay's missing or what we're missing, we are open to your best argument, be it,
Of course.
academic or otherwise.
There's a reason why it's a trope, the trope of, I started reading my holy book, and that's what led me out of my religion. There's a reason why, often actually turning the pages ends up being problematic. But we have someone on the line who I think is geared to my whole deal, and I'm going to talk to Jack.
Cool.
Jack, welcome to Sunday
Paul.
Show After Dark on the Line with Paul and Austin. Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you,
Can
Jack?
you hear me?
We can
We
hear you.
can.
Very good.
Nice.
So you've intrigued me. You want to talk about witnesses to Jesus' resurrection, and I don't think there are any. So this is going to be fun.
It's 500 witnesses.
Name one.
Paul.
Paul was not one of the 500.
No, he said, Paul wrote down the 500.
Hey, Jack, can I ask you a
Paul?
question right out of the gate, Jack? You've called in with this
Yes,
exact
sir.
same claim before, and it has already been explained to you multiple times on this show that these people did not directly
No.
witness, that these are accounts that span
No.
hundreds of years. Why do you not
No.
accept that your one talking point has already been why can you not accept, like, oh, here's my
Whoa,
thing,
whoa, whoa,
500
whoa,
people.
whoa.
But Paul, or Jack,
You're getting me mixed up
500
with somebody
people
else,
didn't
sir.
Jack, 500 people didn't stand and watch Jesus Christ walk out of the tomb 3 days after he was
Yeah.
crucified. That didn't happen, Jack. That's nowhere is it written down that a crowd of 500 people watched that happen. Nowhere is
Well,
that is that
That's
claim.
written down. That's written
You
down.
need to read the Bible, Austin.
Which book does it say 500 people watched this happen?
On the screen.
On the
You need to read the Bible, Austin.
right there. Okay.
So you're talking
But-
about.
Yeah.
So Jack, you're talking about 1 Corinthians 15, verse 3, right? 3 to 5, 3
Yeah.
to 6.
That's-
Yeah.
That's
So
correct.
So in verse 3, it starts, "For what I received, I passed on to you as of first importance." What does that mean? Does that mean
It
that Paul
means-
knows about this? But Paul can testify to this by himself? Oops, that's the wrong thing.
No, it means Paul was a witness.
No. What I received, I passed on to you. That is not a witness. If I witnessed a car crash, I wouldn't tell the police officer, well, someone told me about the car crash and I received that message and now I'm telling it to you. Paul didn't say that he saw, that he knows any of these people. This is a creed. This is like a nursery rhyme that early church people were passing around, and Paul heard it. And so Paul is repeating what he heard. And in a court of law, we call that hearsay at best, right?
Paul is the main man in the Bible.
So the fuck what? So the fuck what? So
May
what?
God bless you.
But-
Calm down, sir. Calm down.
Jack,
May God bless you.
Fucking tell me to
Calm
calm
down, sir.
down. So your
Calm
evidence
down,
is
sir.
Paul is the most named man in the Bible. Therefore, when Paul says, "I was told that there were this many witnesses," it's true.
Calm
hell are
down,
you
sir.
talking
Calm
about?
down.
Jack, if anything, the fact that all of the different accounts of the resurrection are
Why you
different,
so-
and this is just one of the many different accounts, that's
No,
the
no.
proof that there is no they should all be the same story, right? They should all be. The reason why I
No.
misspoke earlier, I said it's not
Are
written
you
down
gonna
anywhere,
be me-
and then Paul showed it to me. Jack, shut the fuck up.
No.
Shut the
You're
fuck
wrong.
up, Jack. And then he showed it
How
to me that
dare you, sir.
he
May
heard
God bless
secondhand.
you.
Shut the fuck up, Jack. He said he heard it secondhand from
I
somebody
will
else.
strip your bloody moustache off.
Oh.
Damn you.
All right, you are muted. Shut the fuck up. Nobody can hear you. You're muted. If one person said, first of all, I've never heard this in all my years doing this, so that's why I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about? 500?"
Oh no, this is my wheelhouse. I'm writing a book on this. So yeah.
God, but also like all it does is just proves what we talk about all the time, which is like this game of telephone thing, where it's just like if everybody's telling a story wildly differently, and all of them are telling stories that they're saying, "I heard it from so and so who told it to me, who told it to me," and they're all saying different things. Some of them are saying that the soldiers were there. Some of them are saying that these women were there. Some of them are saying that they weren't there. Some of them like this one apparently this is a new one for me. I'm like 500 people were there. I just like if the story keeps getting different every time, all that proves is that there is no definitive account of the story. That doesn't, you don't just go with the one, you don't just go, I like the one where 500 people were there, where Paul says he heard secondhand from somebody else that 500, you don't just pick one. What you deduce from that is, oh, nobody's telling the same story, which means the facts of the story are not consistent. They're not there. They can't be like, even if they were, it's still just a fucking story.
But this is my field of interest, so if you can let me poke around with Jack for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm done. Yeah, but I'm gonna unmute you, Jack. Here you go.
Jack. Jack, are you still there?
Yes, sir.
Let's you and I talk about let's let the angry man, we'll put him aside for a minute. Let's talk about the 500.
Okay. Can I prove to you the soul?
You're gonna what?
Can I prove to you the soul?
No, we want to talk about I want to talk about the 500. Otherwise, I'm bored with the call because I love this 500 passage. So I want to talk about the 500 passage because you brought it up. So
okay.
Are you with me now that Paul is passing along a story about the 500 and that is not the same as having eyewitness accounts from the 500?
Definitely not.
So okay, so you're with me, okay, that this 500 is at best hearsay because Paul is hearing it not even from anyone from the 500, but he's hearing it from someone who told him that there was 500. So that isn't for me going to be sufficient to say that these were eyewitnesses of Jesus. To Austin's point, we don't know what they saw.
Okay.
Were they, and to quote Dale Allison, were they in a receiving line? Were they on a hill? How do you even see? Go ahead, Jack.
Okay. If your mother said to you, for instance, Dad said, he just seen a three-legged horse in the garden, would you believe your mother?
Sure.
So hold on for a sec. My mother absolutely would talk about three-legged horses in the garden because I grew up on a Mennonite farm and we do not shoot the horses. We keep the horses. So that actually would make sense. But here's the thing. My mother, and I promised my mom not, my mother has also talked to me about experiences that she's had, which I 1,000% do not believe veridically happened. I take them claim by claim.
May you tell me one, because I'm quite intrigued by that.
Well, I promised my mom that I wouldn't talk about her as much on this show. But let me pause it. Let me pause it. So I have family and children, and if any of them came to me and said, I was abducted by aliens, I would say, I love you. You are the most important person in my life. But I'm going to need a little more evidence than you telling me that you're abducted by aliens. I would believe that they had an experience that they were attributing to being abducted by aliens, but I wouldn't automatically say, well, you're someone I trust and someone I love, so your attribution of the experience you had must be correct. That's not a good way to live, Jack.
Okay. I'm going to go off obviously you're in America and I'm in the UK, so I'm going to go with John Edward. How can you explain what he did do?
Jack, we're talking about the 500. We are sticking on this 500. That's what this call is going to be about. We're going to call it in Legends. We're going to call it in Legends and Story of Song.
No, we were talking about your mom. Well, not your mom, but I was giving an example
of a random person. How is this random person relevant to the 500?
No, not a random person. I give you an example.
How is John Edward relevant to the 500, or my mother relevant to the 500?
Because John Edward talks to the dead.
So I don't think that is true. And I certainly will not. And certainly what will not make me think it is true is that Jack called me and secondhand told me that John Edward talks to the dead. You understand how you, being the middleman, has made the claim less believable than if John Edward were here telling me himself.
Now, I will reply to that by just saying, go on to YouTube, book a show, and go from there, and then come back to
Are the 500 on YouTube? Jack, are the 500 on YouTube?
Oh, fuck, Paul. Paul, shit, he's right. I just looked up a clip on YouTube, and John Edward is talking to dead people in this clip. Fuck, I hadn't seen it happen.
Can John Edward...
He guessed that someone in the crowd had something to do with brown. He said, I'm getting the word brown, and someone said, oh, my grandma had a brown shirt. Fuck, I feel like an idiot. I didn't know that he guessed brown shirt. Shit.
Has John Edward talked to... Has he talked to one of the 500?
Yeah, and I guess 500 people did see
I feel stupid. Has John Edward talked to one of the 500?
Excuse me. I feel deeply offended. Jack. I haven't been rude to you.
You're deeply offended at something?
Sorry, Paul. Jack, sorry, Jack. I apologize. What are you offended about?
No, I don't want to speak to you. I was speaking to Mr. Paul.
Yeah. Okay. So, but I'm going to make you keep talking about the 500. So if you don't connect John Edward to the 500 in 2 sentences, we're out.
Absolutely. John Edward, he speaks to everyone. He spoke to the 500. He spoke to Jesus Christ. He spoke to Michael Jackson. He spoke to Whitney Houston.
Again, we're in hearsay territory, but I'm going to allow it for a moment.
I'm sorry.
You, Jack from Wales, are calling to tell me that John Edward spoke to one of the 500. What did one of the 500 say their name?
Yes.
What was the name of the one of the 500? Do you recall?
I do recall.
Oh.
Okay. What did they say? Albert?
Albert.
Albert.
A-L-B-E-R-T.
Oh, Albert. Like was commonly used in first century Judea. Albert.
Yes,
okay,
that's correct. Albert.
Okay, all right. And what did Albert say?
I can't pronounce.
This is a transliteration of their Hebrew name, perhaps. Fair enough. Jesus didn't walk around saying, "Hi, I'm Jesus." It was Yeshua. So cool, well and good.
Yes,
what
correct.
did Albert tell John to tell Jack to tell to me about Jesus rising from the dead?
He told everyone to tell you about him rising from the dead.
What did he say? What did Albert say about risen Jesus?
I'm the way, the light, the resurrection.
No, Albert could have read that in the Bible. What did Albert say about the time when he and 499 other people saw Jesus all at once?
Albert witnessed Jesus saying them words. I'm the way, I'm the truth, the life, I'm the resurrection.
Wait, so Jesus resurrected to repeat a sermon that he'd already given?
That's what he said before we send it to heaven.
So Albert was not only at this meeting, but he was also at the ascension?
Absolutely.
Albert should be mentioned in the Bible because no one else has mentioned it being at both events. So Albert,
can I try and connect you?
Can you understand, Jack, why I'm skeptical? Jack, I'm skeptical because Albert told John, who told me something that Jesus famously said in a different context. Like,
you're getting mixed up.
Let's say John F. Kennedy. Can Albert talk to John F. Kennedy? Or not Albert, John? Can John Edward talk to JFK?
No.
Why not?
Because Albert is talking to you through me right now.
Okay.
Well, but here's the problem. Here's the problem with that.
Let's say someone else, like if someone with these same John Edwards skills could talk to JFK, and they said, what JFK told me was, ask not what you can do for me, but what I can do for your country. It's like, that's a weird message for dead JFK to pass along.
Well,
he would have a different message.
What's actually crazy is that, like, and I don't like to get into this on this show, but since we got Jack,
the problem is it's because
hold on, Jack,
Austin,
listen. I'm talking to Jack.
Was allegedly shutting his mouth about a hour ago.
Jack, I want to let you know, Jack, I'm talking to Wilbert right now. Wilbert was also... Jack, I'm trying to tell you about Wilbert. Yep, you're on mute, Jack. You're on mute. So I need to tell you about Wilbert. Okay, so I talked to Wilbert. I don't like to talk about it on the show because people give me a hard time about it. But Wilbert tells me that John Edward is full of shit. And that whatever Albert says, it's a lie, because Albert is a compulsive liar. And that's what Wilbert's telling me. And Wilbert says he was there with the 500 people, and that is not what Jesus said. He said Jesus didn't even, like, get out of his tomb. He was just dead in there. And all the 500 people said, I bet if we told Albert to tell John Edward that Jesus said, I am the light and the way, we could do a whole religion on this. And this is... I trust Wilbert. This is my guy, Wilbert, dude. Wilbert holds it down for me, all right? And, like, Wilbert's never told me anything that's not true. And I don't like to talk about it because it makes me sound crazy that I talked to this dead guy named Wilbert, but it's the truth. So do you understand? Like, do you understand why I'm laughing? Because my guy, Wilbert, who genuinely, he's a straight shooter, he tells me that you're full of shit. And I believe Wilbert over you. I've known him for longer. So does that make sense to you, Jack? Do you get it? Do you get why I'm laughing?
You're unmuted.
Sorry, I just fell asleep then when he was talking about all that shit.
You didn't, Jack. I was telling you about Wilbert, dude. You don't believe that I talked to Wilbert?
Wilbert's the devil.
Well, why don't? How
do you know that Albert's not the devil?
How do you know Yeah, exactly. How do you know Wilbert's not the devil and Albert's how do you know Albert's not the devil? How do you know that?
Of course I know.
No, see, I know that Wilbert's not the devil.
You're fucking daft, man.
You are a fucking bastard. How many apples
make a banana?
Jack, Wilbert told me that you are an asshole.
Listen.
And I said, Wilbert, that's rude. I said, don't say that. But that's what Wilbert told me. And Wilbert, I said, he's my guy. He said
Albert said to me, ask what's your name? Anton, how many apples make a banana?
See, Albert's full of shit, dude. Albert said how many apples make a banana. I'm telling you, dude. Wilbert's my guy. Albert, I wouldn't trust Albert, Jack. Hey, Jack, but for real, do you believe that I talked to Wilbert? I'm being serious. I'm being serious.
I'm literally being serious now.
I'm being serious. Do you believe that I talked to Wilbert?
No.
Why?
I want you to look in all your comments now.
Why?
I'm Jack from Wales.
I am
Why do
focused
you
on you,
not
Jack.
believe
I'm
me?
not reading comments.
Jack, why do you not believe
And
that I
I
talked
will
to
off my tits off.
Jack? Why do you not believe that I talked to Wilbert?
I see.
Right.
So, Jack, you're telling us that you're not a serious call. That's what you're saying. You just love to have fun talking to us.
Absolutely, sir. But now I'm going to watch England and Mexico.
All right,
So-
Jack. Go ahead, Paul.
I
Legend.
thought I
I'm
got
done.
to talk about the
I'm done.
500.
Go ahead, Paul.
All right. Well, Jack,
Right.
you need to shore up your
To-
lore
to-
on your
to be
stories, but
Right. Yeah. But to be fair, you two have been the most genuine. I've been shouting and swearing, and we've had a bit of fun. And I've appreciated that.
well, I'm
So,
glad you
I'm
had fun,
happy
but
days,
that's not
gentlemen.
what we're doing. So have a great night and enjoy your soccer ball. Have you partaken of any of the soccer ball?
You know
While you're
what?
there?
I actually got to see the U.S. Beat whatever that country was the other day. It's a weird name, but
Bosnia Herzegovina.
yeah, yeah. It was. I was like, I don't know what the fuck that is.
That's two countries. It's two
Yeah.
countries.
Yeah,
So-
I was confused about what that
And
was.
also, your country has been very mean to that country historically.
That's not good. That's bad.
Anyway, well, but as I was
I'm-
saying to Shannon here, the list of countries to which America has been nothing but delightful to is very short.
That's true.
So-
Come on. Yeah, that's true. Like, who are we nice to? Because Jack was a bit of a troll, I am interested though in hearing more, Paul, because I genuinely didn't know about this 500 witness thing. And but I'm interested to hear more about like your,
Okay,
interest.
so these verses, this is 1 Corinthians 15 verses 3-6,
Yeah.
which is the start of a creed. It's the most famous passage of serious apologists
Okay.
who want to talk about the resurrection. It is commonly dated to be the earliest proclamation of resurrection appearances because it was written before the Gospels. So the Gospels were written, if you're a normal person, the Gospels are written around 70 AD, but the letters of Paul were written like 20 years before that. So it's very exciting if you say, 20 years earlier, there was at least a weird list of people who also saw Jesus, so that they can say it wasn't invented in 70 AD. If it was invented, it was invented in 50 AD, which doesn't necessarily help you. But in that list, so Paul puts himself in the list at the end, but it's very clearly he introduces it by saying this is something that people have been saying, and so I'm just going to repeat to you what other people have been saying. And amongst that is this very nebulous 500, also to 500 at the same time. So I'll put that back on the screen. And I need more
Where's
verses
the
on the screen.
500? Because I keep seeing this verse. Yeah. When you put this up earlier, I was like, where? I don't see it.
no, that's
but
all right.
it's
I'm gonna go further verses down.
Yeah.
Because I wanted him to see this is what I
But
received.
I do like
So
for
here it
what I
is.
have received. Yeah.
So after that, he appeared to more than 500 of the brothers and sisters at the same time, most of whom were living, though some have fallen asleep. So that's the verse.
I mean, in the Book of Mormon, they talk about him appearing to like the entirety of the Americas, like where he like shows up to like thousands of people and
Right.
and floats in the sky above them and everything. So it's pretty pretty spectacular stuff. But I guess, yeah, it's just I when I think about it, I think about like all of the different accounts of like him stepping out of the tomb, and this sounds like him like
Yeah,
going.
because those are from the Gospels. This is a
Right.
random bit in one of Paul's letters.
Okay, that's why I was like, all the ones that I'm thinking of are like the differences between
Yeah,
like
yeah.
were the guards there, were the
No,
you
this
know,
isn't even a narrative. It's literally just a random attestation
ah, and it's still
without
like it's still like
context.
people told me this. Somebody
Eh,
told me.
Somebody told me that 500 people saw them, and also that some of them are still alive. So,
Ah.
okay, neat. Like what? So I'm supposed to, me who lives in Corinth, who's getting this letter.
Yeah.
She's like, trust me, bro. My girlfriend in Jerusalem totally was part of a crowd that saw, and I'm like, I'm gonna get on a boat and go check that out. Like, no, you're not. You're just gonna, live your life. But
Yeah.
as Dale Allison, who's one of the most respected biblical scholars in any circle, he's a Christian man. He makes fun of this section all the time, which was part of what I was going into. Is like, was there a receiving line? Was there a jumbotron? Like, there's the mechanisms by which in first century Jerusalem, 500 people could see a person at the same time. They didn't have, because it wasn't Taylor Swift's wedding. There wasn't a venue for 500 people to go see this. So,
well, I've been telling a lot of people this this like Patton Oswalt bit, like I just listened to in my car recently. I think it's an older bit from him, but I really liked it that he was like, I think Jesus existed, but he was like 15 to 20 different guys over time, and over time he just got like the stories all became amalgamated into one person. But it was like in the miracles, it was just like it was back in a time when if someone was starving to death in front of you, the norm was just to let them do that. You would just watch them like actively starve to death while you ate your bread, and you would be like, that sucks that you don't have any bread. That's just the time that we live in. He's like, and one guy one time was like, I'm gonna give you, look, I'm done with my sandwich. I'll give you here, you can have the back half of my sandwich here. And he gave it to somebody, and they were like, oh my God. Like it just blew their mind that someone would actually be nice. And then that story became like he had like a basket full of bread that he fed like 1,000 people,
right.
It just got exaggerated. Or, like bringing someone back from the dead. It's like back then, if you fell down, the norm was people would just come and hit you with rocks and take your stuff because that's on you for falling down. Like you shouldn't have fallen down. He's like, and at some point, some guy was like, hey, I'll pick you up. Like, you know what? I'll help you back up. And that person like went and told their friends, like, I was dead. I had died, because falling down means I'm dead. They're going to hit me with rocks now and take my stuff. He's like, I was dead, and this person brought me back to life. And it just sort of gets, and I'm like, yeah, I can see that. That the game of telephone and at a time when just like doing something nice for someone felt like a miracle. It felt really, really psychically mind blowing, So
that would go to our first caller, where it literally was like, I'm not denying that someone spouting the golden rule wouldn't have seemed like they were saying something novel to at least some of the people.
Yeah.
Like, sure, do unto others. Oh, I haven't seen that particular phrasing before. Cool. Like that's so makes sense.
Yeah. Basic kindness.
Right. We have room on the line for more theists. We have some non-believer calls, but what we really want is if you believe in a God or gods or a higher power, or, I'm Canadian, so I can't speak to it too much, but, or if you, really think that what's happening in America right now is super great.
Yeah.
We can talk about that a little bit to some extent, but what I'm really looking for is if you believe in a god or gods, they should be telling you right now to call in and get in the queue. But I also want to tell you about many other great shows we have here on the line, which you should subscribe now so that you get the various alerts and the algorithm buzz. Tomorrow we have Skeptalk with Forrest Valkai and Blitz PhD. Oh my goodness, we have the preeminent biologist and preeminent physicist at the same time. So call in with your crackpot science questions. Definitely do that. And Jimmy Snow on the line. He's doing his Monday show. On Tuesday, we have Chewed Gum with Alyssa and Taylor. On Wednesday, we have The Hang Up, as always. Oh, this is also All-Star. Matt Dillahunty and Justin Deconstruction Zone. Definitely check in for that one. and prod your theist friends who don't call in tonight to call into that one. We have the Transatlantic Call-In Show on Thursday with Josie and Alexander, our esteemed producer. And on Saturday, Devangelicals with Justin DZ and Sarah. And the little thing that I'm being presented with doesn't tell me what's happening next Sunday, but we will also be having 3 shows next Sunday. The Sunday show, the show between with Jimmy. I forget what we call it. I don't Sunday show. What do we call it? And then we have Sunday After Dark.
Calling it now.
I knew it. And I literally was watching it today with Siobhan and Jimmy. And what do I know? Anyway, calling it now. Check in for all those things happening soon. And if you're a theist, call in. But for now, we will talk to, are you ready?
Yeah, are you seeing this call?
Yeah, for William?
Yep.
Yeah, let's talk to William. You are on Sunday After Dark with Austin and Paul. Welcome.
How you guys doing, man?
Doing all right. That's my first name, William. Not a lot of people don't know that, but that is we have the same name.
Yeah. Well,
you got confused with Will I Am a lot?
No, not at all.
No, my whole life I've gone by my middle name, and I don't recommend it because in all the government things you have to fill out, people get mad when you try to put when your first name and that you use doesn't line up with it. It's a whole problem.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But William, you had a thought.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of curious. I've been listening to these live streams, and just recently I just started really listening to live streams where there's an atheist point of view about God, and what's amazing is you have a lot of folks who, I didn't know there were so many folks who didn't believe in God, but there seemed to be a healthy amount of people who was giving up on religion, at least organized religion. We talk about Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and I guess the question is, do you base your opinion off of your study of Scripture, or you just in general, you just don't believe there's God or higher?
So William, just a couple clarifying questions. We will both answer those questions happily. It sounds like you believe in God. Am I correct in assessing that?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, and we'll definitely get to that in a minute. And then you said base our opinions. What do we base our opinions on? Do you mean opinions in general or opinions on something in specific when we answer this question for you?
No, I mean, when you say, I'm just saying, like, have you studied Scripture, or do you just kind of go off of just a general concept?
All right. Fair enough. I'm going to let Austin answer first, and then. Okay. I'm going to let Austin answer first, and then I will answer, and then we'll see where this goes.
Yeah, I think I get it, William. You're saying have we actually looked into Scripture at all? Do we study Scripture? Is that where our lack of belief in a God comes from, or is it just something that we're coming up with in general? I have no problem on this show being clear that I wouldn't consider myself a scriptural scholar. I haven't studied Scripture at the level, at any serious academic level where I have a degree in it or any kind of titles, but I was raised in a high demand religion where reading Scripture regularly was a part of my upbringing. I read the entire Bible cover to cover, and I read other books of Scripture that were specific to my subsect of Christianity cover to cover, and I've spent a significant amount of my time reading and studying Scripture. So certainly my skepticism of the truth claims of Christianity are in part rooted in the inconsistencies of that book and what I see to be kind of the foul moral philosophy of that book. I find a lot of the moral philosophy found in the Bible, particularly, to be like really, really repugnant and gross. And then my outside of that, my atheism, my lack of a belief in God, just is rooted in a fundamental lack of any kind of hard empirical evidence that suggests there is a magical deity who designed and created the universe with a set of rules and systems in place that I'm meant to sort of discover and be adherent to in order to live with this being for eternity after I die. I just see no evidence for that isn't, vibe based. A person just saying, "Oh, look around, look, the world's such an amazingly complex place." I don't see actual hard empirical evidence that can be studied, and and those studies can be replicated that points to the reality of that. So yeah, it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Like I when I look at scripture, I find a lot to disagree with and not be super moved by. And when I look at the state of the natural world and what seems to be going on, it seems far more likely to me that religion is a man-made concept. It's something we created, just like our economic systems and our concepts of race and gender and all kinds of things that we just sort of invented to contextualize our experience because we're a species of ape that got a little too smart for our own good. But that's my general thing.
Okay, so William, it sounds like you have follow-up questions to that.
Wow.
Or do you want me to give my answer first, or do you want to?
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. No,
that's all right.
Turns into agent. I was just. That was a little much when he said the last comment where he's just like, we're like monkeys that got too smart, right? So
yeah. I mean, it was
that is literally what the science says.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I mean,
so William, I just briefly I want to say that I too 10 years ago, I also would have rippled at that. I didn't know what evolution was, didn't understand it. I grew up in a Mennonite background. When I was in high school, I was a competitive Bible memorizer. I memorized almost the entire I memorized the majority of the New Testament, competed on it at a international level, traveled around all the place and used that money that I earned in scholarships to go to Bible college, where I learned more about the Bible. While I was never technically employed by the church, I was an unpaid youth pastor. I was an unpaid music pastor for many decades, and I headed up Bible memorization across North America and for teens and youth. And at one point, I decided to look into it more deeply because, like you, it sounds like I was quite skeptical of this evolution notion, thought it seemed a little silly, and I thought I would dig into that a little bit. And it turned out that was a mistake because I learned too many things to hold on to my faith and belief. So I definitely came to this all not because I wanted to leave my faith. My life would have been much, much easier if I'd have stayed a Christian. But unfortunately, the information led me away from it. And again, while there are many, many people who know the Bible a lot better than I do, because I spent my decades just accepting it at face value, that's our background. So now, William, sounds like you may have follow-up questions.
Yeah, I'm just. I mean, I think the follow-up is that when you think about civil society and the morality and the moral clarity that comes with established religion, whether you wanted to admit that or not, that having something that you can hold on to, and we as human beings we learn by the pen, and reading is fundamental, and that's how we learn. And we learn by stories in the Bible.
We learn by what? I'm sorry, I just missed that.
we learn by the pen, by the written word.
You learn by the pen, by the written word. So what?
Right.
So you also just said religion in there. So do you feel like we can plug in any religion as a basis for morality, or are you advocating for one in particular?
So I mean, just religion and just the monotheism religions in general.
Just monotheism religions in general. Doesn't matter if you're Islam. Doesn't matter if you're Mormon. All of them, they're all the same.
I think I mean, you can say without religion, or with we still have the conflicts and the disagreements that we have in society. I would pretty much say yes, we would be more in a primitive state, the state of mind, or you know what I'm saying, or you could just say just like the Amish, right? The Amish, I don't think they believe in like Jesus or or Moses and all that, but they believe in the bees. That's not.
You're talking about the Amish?
The Amish, right?
My cousins, the Amish. No, they definitely believe in God and all that stuff. They definitely. Anyway,
I mean, they believe in God, but I don't think they have. I don't think they have belief in the Bible, though, right? They don't.
Oh my goodness! Do we ever? Do we ever? But only in Low German. In the original, what Jesus spoke in the original Low German is how that goes.
What isn't it a people that kind of like, is it the Amish people or the ones that is it another people that kind of like just really about the earth and they don't really believe in God like per se like Christianity? Or
I'm sure there are lots of people like that, but they that's fine. It's not the Amish. The nice thing is the Amish aren't watching this internet show, so it doesn't matter if we say bad things about them.
I'm not that I would.
I wouldn't, because again, that's close to the heritage that that is mine. So
they're basically decent, good human beings.
But
you know what I'm saying?
But decent,
they don't.
Do you think we need religion for decency, or do you think that it's just a useful way to enforce it?
You have to have something that civil society can go on, and rules that govern it, and moral codes, and so.
So you're telling me that it's useful, not that it's true.
I mean, there definitely have to be some truth in it. I mean, you look in the Bible, what are the two greatest commandments?
Well, love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind, which it doesn't make a lot of sense if God doesn't exist. Okay. And the second is love your neighbor as yourself.
Thank you. So I mean,
the second one I like. The first one's ridiculous.
Why would the first one be ridiculous? Because that's just you being grateful for wherever the water from the sky comes
from. It's not being grateful. It's love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. That's not being grateful. That's demanded worship.
And all your heart and all your mind?
That's demanded worship by a God who needs nothing. But also if he doesn't exist, like how do Austin or I or anyone loving the Lord your God help our neighbor, help society? It doesn't. What helps society is the second command: love your neighbor as yourself. Amazing, great, keep that one. The first one,
so you shouldn't be grateful. Who should you be grateful to?
To someone who actually does something for you.
Whoever gives you a cool drink of water. Okay, so if somebody gives you a cool drink of water, so whatever gave you that spring water, whether the earth or whoever thought it was just a cool drink of water for you to survive, how should you pay your gratitude to that? How should you be grateful for that?
Say thank you to the person who gave me the water. Thank you so much. That was very nice.
And if it wasn't an agent, I'm grateful.
So if you take a cup and you go to Niagara Falls and you find a nice cool spring somewhere near Niagara Falls, and you put that
don't drink out of Niagara Falls for sure.
Get that water. If you get that, you get you a nice cool drink of spring water. Who you gonna be grateful to?
if there's no agent, you don't thank anyone.
You don't just invent one. You don't just make one up.
You're just gonna thank the spring. You're just gonna thank the earth. You're gonna thank the earth. You're gonna be grateful to the earth.
Well, I wouldn't, because they're not an agent. That's a silly thing to do.
To the earth.
Why?
So I took water from the earth, but I'm not grateful to the earth. You want to be ungrateful.
Oh no,
right?
I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I am in a position where I live in a world where I'm privileged enough to hike near a spring of clear water and have a drink. I'm grateful, but that doesn't mean I'm grateful to someone or to an entity. It's recognizing that I am in a privileged position. You're grateful because you're in a privileged position over others. And that's actually just selfishness.
Yeah, I mean, if you're hungry and you climb an apple tree and you eat, like 4 or 5 apples, you know what I'm saying? Who you grateful for planting that apple seed for you? Who you grateful to?
Well, you might be grateful to agents if you're talking about planting the apple seed. Those are agents. Those are actual thinking agents. They're thinking entities. Who made decisions.
So the agents made the apple tree and the apple seeds?
No, you said planted. And
okay,
planting.
So I'm just saying, so you said whoever made the apple and the apple seed, are you not grateful to that, whatever that is?
Why would I think that someone
too much for you to be grateful for?
It's
not too much. It's we need to know why we should assume that there is a thing that made it. That like you're presupposing that we believe that there is a designer.
Okay. So you think the apple just thought of itself?
No, that's not the claim. The claim is not the apple thought of itself.
You claim the apple thought of itself, right? That's what you claim. Don't worry about thanking anybody for the apple, because the apple thought of itself, right?
That's a nonsense sentence. The apple thought of itself. The apple doesn't
the apple thought of itself. So nobody thought of the apple for you. The apple thought of itself. It didn't. Nobody thought about apple might be good for a human being.
So William, can we assume
that for you, right?
Can we assume you don't accept evolution, William? You don't believe that evolution is real?
I don't believe that evolution is real. I don't understand that question, brother.
Do you believe that the biological evolution, as described in modern science, is a accurate explanation of how we have of life on Earth?
Right. I think that science gives you a process for certain entities, and
right.
Microphysical.
Okay. So you accept. So you accept it.
Everything has a process.
Yeah. So you accept the process of how the apple got there. So, at what point in the evolutionary process between the first replicating cells and apples was a creator involved?
So I'm not 100% sure. I mean, it's just like anything. There's certain things that our intelligence. But I think when you say you don't believe in a higher intelligence, it's kind of like insulting your own intelligence. It's saying I don't believe in my own intelligence.
How so, William?
How you gonna have the intelligence to come to the conclusion that there's not a higher intelligence, but you have the intelligence to come to that conclusion? That's not smart at all. I don't think that's smart.
So
some people would say it's dumb, but I'm not gonna be insulting.
I am not insulted by someone someone who's making the claims that you're making right now is not in danger of insulting me.
Right.
So we're fine. You've definitely shifted these goalposts a few times here now. Austin, where did we leave off?
I'm just, I obviously, because of the nature of the show, I know where you're trying to drive us, William. You put as your prompt here when you called in, you said, I'm amazed at folks who don't believe in God. And that's where you want to point us to. When you're talking about, does the apple think of itself? You're trying to say, no, obviously there had to be an intelligent designer to the apple and to water and to the system of life on Earth. And that's who we should ultimately be grateful to. Our problem that from the beginning of the conversation, You asked us, how do we arrive at our atheism? And one of the things I told you is from a profound lack of any kind of substantive, empirical, uh, you know, data and evidence to establish proof for a god. So you're kind of saying it's dumb to have all these things around you and not attribute them to some kind of designer, to some kind of intelligent designer. I would like you to demonstrate to us why we should accept that claim, that truth claim.
What are we?
That there is.
Yeah, what are we missing? Why? So we're dummies. We're both the dummies here who can't apparently recognize. Fill us in, help us out, be the person tonight that enlightens us. What are we missing?
It took me a long time to learn this, and you know what I'm saying? I used to kind of like grapple with this a lot, but then I had to learn that common sense is not common. It's a blessing from the Lord. People don't have basic reasoning and common sense. So, you know, as much as you try to explain something to them with basic reasoning and common sense, they're still not going to believe you.
Okay, let's not set the bar. You're right. I set the bar too high at convincing us. But someone on the call, a lot of people, our audience also don't believe. And perhaps some of them have this common sense that Austin and I lack. What you just mentioned reasoning, which must mean you have reasons. So what are these reasons that if I had a shred of common sense, I would, but let's assume that I don't, but talk to our audience. What is the reasons? What are the reasons to believe in God other than, or tell us what are they?
I mean, you know, just you know, you as a human being, you know, you are an amazing, you know, wonderful human being, and you're capable of doing amazing and wonderful things. And so, you know what I'm saying, you're also capable of being naturally ungrateful, which you choose to be right now. You choose to be ungrateful to whatever gives you air to breathe, whatever gave you a mom
William,
and a daddy.
I promise that the second you convince me that there's a God, I will be grateful. It's not that I don't want to be grateful. I believed this for many, many decades. But
wow.
So we need to step back. You didn't give any reasons to. You're just impugning motive. You're just saying that we're ungrateful.
Also, William, like I'm plenty grateful for the experience of sentience. I don't know why, or necessarily how it comes to, like, how it happens that, like, I am the result of this sort of DNA chain that my parents came from and their parents came from and their parents came from, that, like, it results in me now in this time period. It's weird. It's a profoundly strange experience we're all having, but I'm plenty grateful to be here. I like the experience of going to the movies and going and seeing a concert and spending time with my friends and eating good food and going on vacation to a beautiful place and admiring a nice sunset. I'm plenty grateful for it. This assumption you make that I'm choosing to live my life free of gratitude, that I just go through expecting good things to happen for me and I don't feel any sense of appreciation for them. We haven't said anything like that. You're just saying that we should direct our gratitude specifically at this deity that you believe in, and we're just saying we have no reason to believe that deity exists, and we're asking you to demonstrate why we should. That's all.
Just the fact that, you know, you exist, and, you know, the fact that the sun and the moon exist, and the fact that the sun and the moon, I mean, if you kind of study, you know, like the sun is like perfect.
Don't move on from this. Don't move on from this. So the sun and the moon exist. Explain to me if syllogism point number one, you were talking about reason. So point number one, the sun and the moon exist. Therefore, what's the thing between that and therefore God?
So the fact that, you know, the sun and the moon is moving in an orbit, and they're keeping perfect time, and they sustain you.
They are not. They are not keeping perfect time. We have every year is a different length of time.
Okay,
we have to make up for it later. The orbit is not the same every year.
So you're saying that in the summer and the winter equinox, that the moon and the sun are not in the same position every year. That's where
That's
the
correct.
concept of Jesus being in the grave 3 days came from, right?
So we're not going to get on a
So is
resurrection
that
yet, because that's my whole life is resurrection. But let's stick to this. What about the existence of the earth and the sun and the moon
so just
makes me think
just
should
the
make me
fact
think
that
that there's a God? Are you just basically saying
I
that the
mean,
awe that I should just feel awe,
I
or is
mean,
there
you
some
know,
scientific
if you can't,
requirement?
right? I mean, I don't think. I mean, if you can't like see the signs of intelligent design, then I don't know how really to explain them to you. Like I said, common sense is not common. I mean, if you can't look at
What
the common sense, intelligent
what is the
design of the
sign?
universe,
What is the sign of
You know what I
intelligent?
think? What I think isn't common, William, is scientific literacy. Like what you think common sense is
right?
just looking at the world and going, "Wow, look how amazing everything looks." That's common
No,
sense to believe
no,
there's an intelligent
no,
designer. But what
no.
you're lacking is any kind of scientific literacy on like how orbiting works in star systems, just like how gravity works and how like orbital patterns work and orbital dynamics and orbital physics. You don't have the first fucking clue about any of that shit. You just look at it and go, "Wow, that must be God." That's not common sense. That's just a lack of basic scientific literacy. And that's fine. You don't need to be a genius in all areas of astrophysics, but don't, because you lack the academic understanding of how those things work, don't just go, "Well, common sense says a magic space guy did it." That's not what common sense says. You just lack the scientific literacy to properly understand those things. And that's okay, but that scientific literacy is far less common than whatever you think common sense is, I promise you.
No, actually, you know what I'm saying? I've kind of like, you know, studied certain things specifically when it comes to, you know, creation and so forth and so on. And, you know, I look at a lot of YouTube videos because, you know, for this generation, as far as, you know, we have so much technology in our hands. So we really don't have an excuse to be ignorant on certain things unless we choose
You
to be
certainly don't have an
because,
excuse. We live in the most
right,
in the age with the most available
right,
information. You can go learn
right,
about why the trees are the way they are. You can go learn about how apples, the current apples in their current form, came to be, and the humans doing genetic
yeah,
modification on different fruits
yeah,
and vegetables. You can go learn the history of all this stuff. It's all
right,
readily available. You don't have an excuse to
yeah.
believe that it's being done by a magic man in space anymore, and yet
Okay.
here you are.
But I think you have to, you know, just accept that there's some intelligent force in the universe.
I don't think we need to
Why?
accept that.
I
Why
don't know
must
why
I
you don't
accept
want
that?
why you don't want to accept that there's some intelligent because you are an intelligent human being, and something had to bring about your intelligence.
That's weird. There are red
And if you
things in
don't
the
want to
world. Do
believe
we say
there's something that brought about your intelligence, then I don't know. You know,
Yeah, my
so?
just
mom
like
and
it
dad
doesn't make sense.
fucked, dude, and here I am. It's wild.
So you just really
Intelligence.
amazing just because you're just amazing, right? Because you got an amazing mom and dad, and you know you just got
No,
good genes, and
we think
it's
we
really
are incredibly
amazing.
non-special. That we are an inevitable
Why do you think
end
you're not
to
special?
natural processes that are understood. We are not the ones
Do
here
you
saying that
know
we
that
are special snowflakes.
oh, no. You are unique. Your fingerprints. That's why there's nobody else with your fingerprints. Even if you had a
Why?
twin.
Because Jesus wanted to be
Why?
able to, that's how Jesus knows the number of hairs on our head. He didn't need, the fingerprint. He
God
also
knew
knows where we
you
are.
before you, because God knew you before you was in your mother's womb.
Prove it.
That's how special you are to God.
Why
That's
why
how
should
much
we
God
believe
loves
any
you.
William, why should we believe any of
That's how
this
much
other
God
than
loves you.
awestruck wonder? Your
I mean,
credulity is really what you're leaning on.
You can choose to be a believer or you can choose
You
not to
can't.
believe. You
No,
know,
you
that's been
can't.
all through
I wanted to be a believer. I
I
wanted it so bad.
Yeah, I cannot choose to believe in something that doesn't make sense to me. I can't. I can't just choose to I can't choose to be in love with someone. Like I can't just like make myself be in love with there's just certain things in life that like I can say it. I can say the words. I believe in God. I'm capable. I just said them. I'm capable of saying the words. I cannot force myself to believe it.
You're still a great guy. You can believe in God and still be the great guy you are. That's not going to change. Because you believe, you're thankful to
William.
God,
William, do you accept the notion that people don't? Do you accept the notion that people do not choose their beliefs?
Do I accept the notion that people don't? I think you know. I don't know. I mean, I feel
choose to believe something right now that you do. Choose to believe that my head is on fire.
I choose to believe that either one of y'all can be a believer, and you know, and love the Lord, do good things. That's what I choose to believe. That's what I believe.
But that's not choosing to believe something.
All human beings can do really great things and love the Lord. I mean, I don't know. And I think that's just loving your neighbor as you love yourself. You know, just trying to love
that's
your
not.
Neighbor. I mean,
you know that Jesus didn't come up with that, right? You know that he borrowed that from other people.
Oh no! Come on, why do you want to take from Jesus? If you say Jesus, if you could.
I said Jesus. Jesus did not come up with the golden rule. You're aware that this it had been written many times long before Jesus ever walked this earth.
You said you read the Bible. Would you say Jesus in your reading of the Bible? Or would you let Jesus die for your sins?
I don't believe that there are sins. So why would I let someone die for something that I don't think is a thing? I would definitely not let Jesus die for my sins.
So you do know there's a couple of wars going on in the world right now. And Russia,
I'm well aware of that.
Ukraine, they are killing a lot of people.
They sure are.
Did you know that in Gaza and Israel
and none of that's for sin.
90% of Gaza has been destroyed, and over 80,000 people have been killed, and over
I'm against all of that. I'm against all of that, William.
What's your point?
But none of that is sin, because sin. None of that is sin, because sin is a gap. Sin is the gap between God. William, sin is the gap between God, our actions, and God's expectations. And until you demonstrate that there is a God, there can definitionally be no sin. We can have harmful actions. We here on this channel, I'm against harmful actions. Austin's against harmful actions. That's why we all get riled up. Those actions are harmful. We don't need Jesus for that.
William, you're not going to sit here and say, William, you're not going to sit here and say that Paul and I don't think it's horrific that women and children and people of all ages are being murdered en masse in Lebanon and in Gaza and in Ukraine. We are not going to sit here and say that we're okay with that, because we have not said that, and you're not going to put that on us, because that's not what we've said. We've just said we don't believe in the concept of sin. We don't believe in the concept.
What do you call that?
We call it
harm. We call it harm, William. Harm. We are against harm.
I got you. Okay, harm. So you call that harm. So there's a lot of harm in the world, and you're saying that harm
there sure is
a natural balance between human beings, and we should try to learn and read how to be more moral and more nice and caring to each other.
Less harmful. That's right. We should be less harmful. That would be awesome.
That's what the Bible is there for you to read it and try to be less harmful.
The second commandment, not the first one. But this is, William, why I told you that Jesus didn't come up with that one. Jesus didn't come up with this. Don't harm people. People have known not to harm each other.
The Bible and be better and caring to people. Is something supposed to be wrong?
You can be, but many people read the Bible and are worse to each other and feel justified because the Bible is written poorly enough.
I don't know people who read the Bible as worse to each other.
Do you know that the Bible was used? Do you know the Bible was used as a defense of slave ownership?
Why do we have to? Why? I mean, if you don't believe in God, why would we find fault with other people.
Why do we have to talk about stuff that actually happened in history? Why do we got to do it? Why do we got to talk about the fact that the Bible condones slavery again and again and again and again and again in the Old Testament? Why do we got to talk about it? Why do we even have to go there?
Do you know that several of those wars you listed right now are happening because of justifications of the Bible? They gained support because there's so many Christians who think that Jerusalem has a special get out of everything free. Yes, it's by people's interpretations of the Bible, because the Bible is poorly written enough. The Bible is poorly written enough that anyone with any idea can use it to justify their bad idea. And that's why you had people on both sides of the slavery issue holding up their Bibles.
I think it's an excuse we try to make for, just wrong behavior. And trying to put it on the Bible or God, it's not a good defense.
It's in there, man. It doesn't matter. It's in there, man. God explicitly tells people that they can have slaves in the Bible. He explicitly tells them how to do it, what the rules are around it. He changes the rules from time to time, but he gives multiple people commandments that they're allowed to own people as property in the Bible. It's in there. It's not, oh, I feel like it's bad to put that on the Bible. I don't give a fuck, man. It's in there. It's not, I didn't fucking write it. It's in there, dude. You don't get to just go, I don't like that part. Okay, cool. I don't like the whole book. That's why I don't use the Bible as the framework for my moral philosophy.
It's just like, you have to learn more issues and certain right from wrong. And certain things, certain teachings that come out of the Bible help us as human beings treat each other better, more morally, and without harm.
Yep,
that's right.
So,
William, you don't need the Bible for that. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yep.
You can just choose to be less harmful without the Bible. Just say, hey, be less harmful. Boom. Good.
Yeah, William, there's a reason why the Ku Klux Klan burns crosses on people's front lawns. It's because they believe that they are Christians. They believe in the Bible, and they preach Christianity. And there was a group of white nationalists that marched in Washington, D.C. yesterday for the 250th birthday of the United States, and they want to live in a white Christian ethno-state. They believe that the Bible dictates that they are owed a promised land for white Christian people. Christianity was fed to people who were brought over here by white European colonizers to keep them docile and to keep them in line with chattel slavery. And I'm sorry to say all of these things that are just a part of American history, but that's the reason why you're a Christian, William. Like, that's how it happened. That's the line that led you to believing in the Bible. And I'm sorry that's uncomfortable. I'm sorry that sucks, but that's why I'm not a Christian. Because I look at the Ku Klux Klan and I say, fuck those guys. I look at the white nationalists marching on Washington, D.C., and I say, fuck those guys. Take your fuck ass mask off and go be a fucking human being. Go meet some people who are of a different race and of a different creed than you. People who are of a different sexuality and a different gender identity than you. Broaden your horizons and actually be a good person. Don't just look at this fucking ancient book that can be used as a justification for all kinds of horrible shit and go, but if without this book, how would we be good people? The worst people in the world use that book as a justification for their worldview. You're looking at Paul and me and saying, you guys aren't grateful enough. We're not fucking white nationalists marching about, you're talking about how we want to fucking have a white ethno-state, but Christians are. We're people who are just trying to say, hey, everybody should be taking care of each other and being nicer to each other.
Right, you can't put that on the Bible. You can't put that on Jesus.
Fuck can, William. I absolutely can, and I just did.
You sound like a William. Okay,
you can't divorce it from William. Here's the thing: you can't divorce it from the Bible. You cannot say it's not directly connected to the Bible. That's something else. It is directly influenced by and connected to the Bible. You cannot separate Christian nationalism and white supremacy from the Bible. They are one exists because of the other.
No, I think it's okay if Jesus is white for them. I think that's okay, long as they learn to follow Jesus and to follow His commandments.
All right, man. Okay,
William.
Okay.
It's wait. You think that it's more important to follow Jesus than to reduce harm. That's what I'm hearing.
No, I think definitely. I think the Bible and the teachings of Jesus reduces harm in civil society, and that's what I want you guys to just hold on to. Just hold on to the fact that believing in God and being a good person, that's okay. That's okay.
Okay, William. Yeah, William. That's why there were a bunch of atheists marching in Washington D.C. asking for a white ethno state, not a bunch of Christians, right? Because the Bible is the way to be a good person. Because that's why there were a bunch of atheists walking around with white masks on yesterday, and not Christians, right?
Okay, so I'm sure
you know what the answer to the you know what I'm getting at, William. We're not out here trying to subjugate you. We're not out here trying to subjugate queer people. We're not out here trying to take the rights away from trans people. We're not out here trying to further humiliate and denigrate indigenous people. We are out here saying anyone, regardless of race, creed, whatever sexuality, should be respected as a human being. But the people who are trying to keep you down, William, and keep you institutionally repressed are all Christian nationalists. Not atheists, not us. Your beef is not with us. And you're on the phone with us telling us we would be more moral people if we would adopt your shitty book. But you haven't demonstrated anything to us in this call that would convince us to do that. And I would say you would be a better person if you would just ditch it. But whatever.
So you think I should ditch believing in God?
Yeah, 100%, William.
Yeah,
I think 100%. That's why we're here.
Because, William, do you think that it's better to believe true things than to believe false things?
I think, just like me, you guys believe in the unseen, and, you're good guys, and, you try to do what's right, and, might not. I think, I don't think you know it, but I think you have a strong belief in something, faith in something. I'm not quite sure.
William, if I don't believe in your God and I die tonight, where will I be tomorrow?
If you don't believe in my God and you die today, where would you be tomorrow? I mean, it all depends on your level of ignorance of God.
Oh, but I know a lot because I memorized most of the New Testament, so I'm pretty screwed, I think.
So you know the verse Matthew 10:33?
I don't recall off the top of my head. 1 second. What? Well, quote it to me. I haven't needed to quote these verses in a decade. So Matthew 10:33. What is it? Let's pull it up.
One of those verses that a lot of Christians don't like to think about.
Oh yeah. So whoever disowns me before others, I will disown my Father before heaven, for sure. Yep. So where will I be tomorrow if I die tonight?
So think, I don't know if you'll be at peace. Jesus says, don't think that I come to bring you peace, but a sword.
Yeah, these are part of the bad verses.
Mother against daughter. So you know what I'm saying? So I mean, if you can't accept the peace of God and and the mercy of God within your heart and within your life and live your life, and you're ungrateful for the blessings of God, then I don't know. What do you think it should be?
What do I think it should be?
Yeah, I mean, if there is a God and you're ungrateful to that God for all the blessings. And because when I mentioned, just thanking God for a cool drink of water, if you're living in like heat right now, or
I think that if there's eternal consequences, Williams, if there's eternal consequences, if there's eternal consequences to me believing this, then God is obligated,
God should
morally obligated to make himself known to me. I cannot reject someone that I'm not aware that they exist. If there is,
Oh, I mean, if you see so much life around you, other ants, roaches, birds, trees,
parasites that eat your eyes out, cancer,
just
all these things, I should definitely be looking at those and saying, I had cancer. I should have been looking at my cancer cells and said, hey,
it's not a sign
God.
of something. I mean, that's not something that don't make you get, food for thought. Like, what brought this about? What made all this happen?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So,
it's just being like,
and
okay, whatever made all this happen.
And if I come to a different conclusion than you, then tomorrow I should be burned alive for trillions of years.
No.
I think because you've made up your own. You've made up your own theology where hell doesn't exist.
No, I think for people like for people who don't believe in God, but actually stand up for justice, because you guys seem like you stand up for justice.
That is not what Jesus said.
Hey, William, if those white nationalists, William, if those Nazis who marched on Washington, D.C. yesterday, who were flying the Confederate battle flag, the flag of a seditious country that wanted to exist because they wanted the right to own people as property, if those people who walked on the Capitol yesterday, self-identifying as Christians, Bible-believing Christians, if they die, where are they going? Are they going to heaven?
I mean, if you're preaching hate against humanity, where do you think you should go?
They get it from the Bible, though, William. They believe in the Bible. They believe in Jesus. They believe in God.
So you're blaming it on man. You're blaming man for believing in God.
William, we are saying that any God who is immoral enough to base your eternal torture based on intellectual assent. So you and I have looked at the same evidence and come to different conclusions. And according to the Bible, because we've come to different conclusions, you should be in paradise forever, and I should be burned alive forever. That does not sound like a morality upon which I should say, hey, everyone should read this book and adopt this.
I don't know, just listening to you two guys, I kind of feel like, if you were living during the time of Jesus, that you would save Jesus. And you would try to help, children in Palestine if you had the power. You would try to help people in Ukraine if you had the power. So I think God judges people by their hearts. And
okay, but you know that the Bible doesn't say that, right? You're aware that the Bible does not say that.
Yeah,
so why are you advocating for this book? You are advocating for Williamanity. You've made up a religion, Williamanity, where you like some of the words of Jesus, and you think that it's common sense that someone must be in charge of this. So that's Williamanity. That's not Christianity. That's not the Bible. Why should I believe in Williamanity over the Bible?
What do you mean? Why you don't want to believe in the Bible, bro? I mean, it's not
because the Bible says that I deserve to be burned forever because I came to a different conclusion based on the same facts. Not because of anything I did, not because of anything. It's intellectual assent is different. We don't choose our beliefs, but guess what? Too bad.
The Bible is there to help you to purify yourself, brother, from sin. And the Lord loves those who purify themselves. And you seem like you're trying to purify your heart. So
I am. Like I try not to do harm, but you're preaching Williamanity again. You're preaching Williamanity. There's not a single verse where Jesus says that we should advocate for social justice, right? He doesn't care. You will always have the poor among you. Pour expensive perfume on me.
when
Yeah,
Jesus went into the temple and
that's not
turned over
that's
the
not
tables
social. That's not
and
social advocacy.
that
That's
was
because
that,
his
that was
father's
so
house was being defiled. That's not social
he was fighting
advocacy. He
for
wasn't trying to
justice,
improve
brother.
anyone's life. Justice for who? For his temple?
This is this is
So,
actually
so
this is actually this is a very similar call to our first call of the night. Our first caller called in and said that he felt like the Bible was a good thing and helpful. And we said, why do you think that way? And he said, because I was raised by Christians and they were good people. They were good people who did good things. But when we asked him for specifics, when we said, can you give us specifics from the Bible that you think are helpful? He kind of went, I don't know. I've never really thought about it that deep. It was just the people, like, it just seems like the same thing, only you're much less willing to accept that you maybe just haven't thought about this that deeply. Like you're just basically all you think, William, is like, I believe in being a good person who should try to help people. And you've been told your whole life that that thought comes from Christianity and the Bible, and you don't think that it's possible to reach those conclusions without it, and you've never actually bothered like wondering, would I be able to be a good person and want good things for other people without the Bible and without Christianity? And you think that that's what common sense is when that's not what common sense is. And you're not willing to just like entertain the notion that it's possible for us as secular humanists and atheists to have any kind of moral framework, even though we're clearly demonstrating to you that we do. We're clearly demonstrating to you that like we care about the suffering of people in the world, and we care about like we are in awe of existence and the nature of the universe, but not knowing the answer to every single question in the universe doesn't mean we plug in God magically. And it just kind of seems like exactly what Paul said, you've invented a version of Christianity for yourself that is largely out of alignment with the Bible, that is much more in alignment with secular humanism, and you don't realize it because you never actually studied like what secular humanism is versus Christianity. And I wish you would actually just consider, oh, could it be that maybe I'm the one who's mistaken here? But you seem very, very like, I think you're scared to do that because I think you're scared of the God that you believe in, and you're scared that he's going to punish you if you think maybe it's possible to be a good person without this.
I don't know if it's possible to be a good person without love of the Lord in your heart. So I mean, I think you have to be able to love people and love yourself.
You don't think it's possible to be a good person without the love of the Lord in your heart?
I don't know why that's so hard for you guys to kind of like grasp that. You know what I'm saying? But you know, for some of us.
Who did Jesus say was good, William? Jesus told us who was good. Who was it?
I know when I say the love of the Lord, that means that, the Lord loves those who do good. And I'm sure you guys...
Williamanity, you're just inventing stuff. It's just your own personal epistemology.
Jesus assured us that no one is good. He even quotes this old verse that all of our righteous acts are like filthy rags. In fact, some people interpret that verse as menstrual rags. That's what our good deeds do in Jesus's eyes. Jesus doesn't care about our good works.
You know how much the Lord loves you when you go do something really nice for your moms. And
that's not in the Bible, William. You're just making that up. You're just saying. And yea, I say unto you, if you call your mother on Sunday and send her some flowers, blessed shall... That's not in the fucking Bible. You're just making that up. That's not in there. I agree. It's nice to call your mom. It's nice to do a nice thing for your mom if your mom's a good person.
Honor thy mama, honor your mama is in the Bible, brother.
Yeah, you don't need Jesus for any of this. Also, some mothers should not be honored.
Right.
Some mothers should not be honored. Oh,
yes. Yes.
Oh, brother.
Many mothers are terrible people.
God.
Yeah. Are you not aware that bad people exist and that some of them are moms and dads?
You know that the Lord counts every tear that a woman cries, especially your mom's. So don't ever.
You're aware
how
that
much, William? How much made up shit are you just going to tell us about your version of God? You're just sort of like, did you know that for every piece of snow that falls on Mount Everest, God gives one child an orgasm? Like, what the fuck? I like what? Like, I'm like, what are you? You're just saying stuff, dude. Like, I. Anyway,
I wouldn't say nothing to
yeah.
you, and I don't believe in my heart, brother. I'm trying to just, because
William, here's what I believe.
Something that honor your mother is so, you don't know how close that is. If you're somebody that love and honor your mother and you're there for your mother, you don't know how blessed that how many blessings you can get from that. So I would just encourage you to always think
my mom's amazing, and I love my mom. That's not related to the call. I also agree, William. I think you try to be a good person, and I think that you ultimately, if I pressed you on it, you would agree that harm is that reducing harm is more important than the Bible. I think that you're just caught up in this thing right now. So we are both looking at each other with some pity, but also with some, at least that person's not trying to actively do harm.
The Bible, that people believed in the Bible in the slavery in America.
Do you know that the people who held the slaves also believed the Bible? William, this is what I'm saying. If God,
if it wasn't for good people believing in God, slavery, would we still have slaves?
You cannot prove that. You cannot roll back history. There's no reason to think. There's no reason to think that Christianity was uniquely in a position to do any of that. Empathy exists. This is why I was trying to tell you. This is what I try to tell you. The golden rule is in every culture without the need of a Jesus coming to tell people this. People understand through biology that empathy is important. William, I was trying to say a nice thing about you. I was trying to say that you're a
Judeo-Christian society.
That is unfortunate, but it is true.
And this society that we live in those Judeo-Christian beliefs, those common beliefs in humanity, is what we're founded on as a nation. And we're founded on the creation of independence.
Every belief that you hate, William, every belief that you hate, someone is holding up the Bible to argue for that right, for whatever belief that you hate. Someone is holding up the Bible. The God you believe in wrote such a terrible book that the people on opposite ends of every issue you can name hold it up because it doesn't tell us anything.
So you think it's not a good... Have you ever read, what is it? Isaiah 42.
Yeah.
Isaiah 42 what?
Isaiah 42.
I sure have, but which verse are you talking?
It talks about the word will come to you and bring justice. And so the Bible and
that's cool. Isaiah 42 says that the word will come to me, and that means that it was totally fine when God killed everyone several times in the Old Testament. When he killed everyone in like a single town because he was mad at them, that was justice. When he killed the entire world but one family, and he killed all of the animals who have no concept of sin or of a relationship with a deity, that was fine. That was justice because it says it right there in that book. When he was messing with that one guy with Isaac, and he had him almost kill his son, and then he was like, no, I'm just messing. I just wanted to see if he would do it. That was just...
you believe that? You believe all that?
No.
Do you believe all that?
I'm just saying, because we got all these animals that man has killed. I mean, how many animals? I mean, it used to be buffaloes roaming all around America. Now you can't even find a buffalo.
I'm done. So I'm done with...
William, so this conversation's gone all over.
Yeah.
I was trying to say something nice about you 10 minutes ago to wrap up the final word. So now I think we'll just leave it at, William, you need to consider that all the good things about Williamanity are not actually from the Bible. I am kind of a fan of Williamanity.
Yeah.
But it's not biblical. So carry on and ditch the parts you don't need. Thanks, William.
I agree, William. Yeah, thank you, William. We are down with your personal epistemology and moral code for the most part. It sounds like you're just trying to be there for people and for humanity and trying to be a good person and trying to be a grateful person and a thoughtful person and a generous person. And we are down for all of those things, and none of those things require an acceptance of the Bible as a cornerstone for how to live a decent life, and none of those things require a affirmative belief in the God of the Bible. So you are capable, William, I promise you, of being a good person without that shit. Which it's interesting, this other theist that we have in the queue, because it's all stuff we were just talking about with William.
the theist. Unfortunately, we there is an atheist in the queue, and we will get to maybe eventually. So hold on, but we do theist priority. So that's a good segue to talk to our next caller. Jared, welcome to Sunday Show After Dark with Paulogia and Austin. What's on your mind today?
Hey guys, hope y'all are doing well tonight.
Doing all right.
Spicy now.
So, your banner on the stream says the Bible is awful. So I would like to discuss that, but if you don't mind, if we could establish a few premises first that we could agree on for discussing.
Sure.
So I would say, first off, given that statement is an assertion, would you agree that the burden of proof would be on you to support it?
Yeah, sure. I have no problem supporting that claim.
So, I would like to talk about this, but it will help us if we stick to kind of a narrow set of examples instead of, bouncing back and forth all over the biblical corpus, because it's huge, dozens of books. So, if you could tell me, what is the worst thing in the Bible to you?
We have and we're gonna have different ideas.
Yeah.
So there'll be that. Also, oftentimes multiple passages from multiple places are needed to demonstrate a thing. So I think maybe you and we could agree, Jared, to be topically to try and have narrow topics, but I may well need something like from the New Testament and the Old Testament, and to talk about some of these things. Is that reasonable?
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, I don't know that I can necessarily agree that I'm gonna be like, here's one thing, because the problem is there's just so many. It's like I don't think I'm gonna cover the whole thing, but like I definitely think my answer is gonna be multifaceted.
And we have different answers, and I'm gonna let Austin start because I was Canadian angry at the last call. I got to calm down.
We were just talking to a caller, and I just listed off some of it, but just in general, I'm just going to say that the character of God as presented as a literary character in the Bible is antagonistic, is the bad guy, is a villain, like is antithetical to the progress of the plot, like is constantly doing things that are hindering our protagonistic characters, and also like is kind of like psychotic. Like it doesn't mirror anything that we see in modern times. Like there doesn't seem to be a God who's just coming around just like magically smiting people and mass murdering people. We kill each other plenty. Humans kill each other plenty. Famine kills people, natural disasters, diseases, things like that. But like this God is like he's coming in anthropomorphic form and like mass murdering people constantly in this book. The book is loaded with genocide. The book is loaded with this God approving of things like slavery and rape and all kinds of just deplorable things. And then outside of the book, the way that it not only the history of how it came to be in its current form, the amount of times that it's been rewritten and rewritten and rewritten and retranslated to suit the needs and the agendas of different power structures over centuries and centuries and centuries of different civilizations that were using this as the cornerstone of their society as a mechanism of control, all of the different ways that this book was reinterpreted to the point that it's now in a version of itself that nobody can conclusively say is accurate by any stretch of the imagination, and no one actually knows what the original translation should be. But then the way that it's been implemented to carry out things like the Crusades and all of the different wars and all of the different millions of people who have been killed in the name of belief in this book, and just everything that it's done to contribute to systemic slavery and systemic misogyny and systemic queerphobia. Just the myriad ways that this has been a blight on the human experience. Yeah, I don't know. For starters, there's my entry level point into why the Bible's not great. I hope that's okay. Go ahead, Paul.
Jared,
okay, yeah, gotcha.
Well, Jared, do you want to respond to that? Yeah. Do you want to ask questions, Jared, or do you want me to give my answer first, or how would you like this call to go?
Can I go ahead and respond to him real fast?
Please do. I think that makes sense.
Okay, thank you. All right. So when you say that there's, no real understanding if the Bible that we have today is representative of either the initial codification of these scriptures or the oral tradition that most historians believe preexisted most of the books, I guess I wonder kind of what specifically you mean there, because the Old Testament, at least most of it, and you could probably find exception to this, we can trace back to the Iron Age rabbinical tradition through various archaeological discoveries. And then we do have extant textual references to the Gospels and the Pauline letters, and we can date that to the early to mid-2nd century through the exchange between Marcion and primarily Irenaeus and Tertullian. So I'm just wondering kind of specifically if you would elaborate what you mean by the idea that we don't have an accurate version of the Bible.
I would say exactly that like, yeah, just the fact that you can go back and go, hey, we have these original languages. It still stands to my point that, like, throughout the history of the use of this book in a societal context, people have used different interpretations of it. They have used different translations, and they have implemented civilization-wide kind of concepts based on these different translations. The fact that you can go back and say we have something close to the original text, we think, doesn't invalidate my point at all in the application of how the book's been used societally. Also, I would just say, okay, go back and use the most original translation you possibly can. All of that stuff I just said about, infanticide, rape, genocide, mass murder, pedophilia, all this stuff, slavery, it all still applies. It's all still in there. It all still is part of the wave of death and just horrible shit that's happened over the last several thousand years. So I don't know how you being able to go, hey, here's a more original text, changes any of that.
Yeah, so Jared,
I was just trying to.
Yeah, no, Jared, if you weren't going to fight him on, I would have fought him on the same point if you because he was just slightly ambiguous with his language, but he wasn't making a textual.
Let's throw that one out. Let's say
he wasn't making a textual criticism argument, because I'm on your side on that. So that wasn't actually what he meant to say. He was just saying throughout history it's been used poorly.
Well, and I would say that it doesn't matter that there's an original text, because there are, like, the vast majority of churches right now that are reading from the Bible to their congregations right now are not reading those texts. They're not reading the original Hebrew. They're not reading the original, like, they are reading a translation of a translation of a translation of a translation.
They are not. No, and don't say that anymore.
But they are.
But they're not.
But they are, though.
Not a translation of a translation of a translation. No, they're translating from Greek and they're translating from Hebrew.
I think we're going to have to disagree on this one. I mean, the amount of different people who will tell you the exact same verse and chapter and quote it differently today, right now, if you go and talk to epistemologists. I'm not saying that the original one doesn't exist. I'm saying all of those different translations also exist, and they're all being used right now.
Yeah, but the modern translations aren't translated from Turkish or something. Like, it's not like
Sure.
they're being translated from.
Yeah, there are a lot of English translations of the Iliad and of the Odyssey, but they're different translations. Because they're all
anyway, yeah. Well, let's set this one aside because you're using slightly different language than probably Jared and I.
Sure.
I'm willing to concede that point.
Yeah, Jared, let's set that one aside.
Concede that point.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm willing to set that aside and go, cool, you've got the original text. It doesn't change any of the terrible shit that's in there.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it better.
Yeah.
Sure. We'll concede that one. Let's use the example of, say, God commanding Joshua to wipe out populations of the enemies of Israel, because I believe there, from the structure of that narrative, you have a clear divine command, and then you have a historical claim and very specific, detailed, kind of point by point descriptions of how that was acted out. So I think that's a good example for some of the things that you've listed. Would you say that's a good example we can talk about?
I'm sorry, I'm not following.
So like when you say that, there's mass murder, genocide, ethnic cleansing, things like this in the Bible, I was trying to kind of hone in on a specific example of that.
Sure, you want it to be one story, so let's go with the flood story. He killed everybody in the world, children, babies, infants, everybody.
Giraffes.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one's easier for me to interrogate. I was trying to feed you a pretty good one there, but we'll go with the flood.
Okay.
How do you know that is wrong?
Jesus Christ. I don't want to kill babies. And if you say your God is right for killing babies, I think your God is a fucking maniac, and I think you're bad for that. And I don't need to tell you why I don't need to justify to you scientifically why it's wrong to kill babies and say that babies deserve to be mass murdered because they're all pissing off God. And the fact that you're trying to justify a story where God says, I'm mad at all these fucking babies. I'm going to drown them to death in a flood so I can restart because I fucked up. I created a world full of people who I'm mad at. I could have just not done that, but I did it because, I don't know, I guess I suck at this. And then I'm just going to kill everyone and start over. And I'm still pissed at all of them. So I need to rape this 13-year-old and have her give birth to me in human form and then kill myself to atone for the sins of all of these people I hate. I don't know, dude. I don't know why it's wrong. I just don't like killing babies. I don't know why your God does the things that he does. I think your God is a fucked up character. That's my assertion. Why do you think it's okay? Why do you think it's good that he does that?
Well, I was just trying to understand sort of your epistemology there, but you did say that you don't know and that you just don't like it. And
yeah, I don't like when people mass murder babies. It's crazy. Where could I get that notion from? Where could that possibly be coming from? It must come from the God of the Bible who loves killing babies. You fucking idiot. Jesus Christ. Sorry, I'm mad. I'm mad about the earlier thing. Paul, I'll get over it. There are so many pastors who read from the King James Bible. It's crazy.
The King James is also not translated from translated. It doesn't matter.
Anyway, whatever. But freaking insane to go, where do you get the idea that mass infanticide is bad? I don't know. I don't fucking know. That doesn't mean that your God is real, because your God apparently is okay with it. Where do you get the idea that it's not bad to do that?
Well, again, because the assertion was that the Bible is awful, the burden of proof would be on you, and you're going to have to offer a little something more substantial than I just don't like it and I don't know. Because if we observe the historical genealogy of morals for our civilization, assuming you live
If
anywhere in
you
the
need
West,
me to give you a more substantial argument on why drowning babies is immoral, then you're a fucking morally rotten cretin. And what the fuck are we even doing here? You're trying to argue with me that your book that you base your personal morality on isn't awful, and you're telling me to prove to you why drowning babies en masse is empirically wrong? What the fuck is wrong with you? Listen to yourself when you speak. Listen to yourself. Hey guys, prove to me that the Bible's bad. Okay, it's bad because God is constantly mass murdering babies. Why is that bad? The fact that you need me to tell you why that's bad is why the Bible is bad, dude. What are you not getting here?
It's not
oh
so
shit,
much that.
fuck. Well, you know, I mean, it's just because sometimes killing babies is, oh, fuck. I mean, could you, what? Why is killing babies okay?
Again, I haven't made that assertion, nor have I.
Sure you have.
Attempted.
Sure you have. You said it's cool that your God did that.
I didn't say that. I asked you.
Okay, then
how
your
you
God is
know
bad.
that murder is wrong.
How do I know that murder is wrong? Because it makes me sad when it happens. Because I'm a human being with empathy. I have feelings. I have an emotional reality that I live with. I have a developed prefrontal cortex. It makes me sad when innocent people are killed unnecessarily. I don't know why that is. I can't explain. I can give you reasons why it's adaptive for evolution and why we might have adapted that way as Homo sapiens. But at the end of the day, you're not going to convince me that I get that from your God who's doing the mass murdering. You're not going to tell me that the reason why I know it's bad to kill babies is because your God who mass murders babies is giving me that download of information. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Do you get that?
Well, I didn't make the claim that God told you that. I would just ask the question.
Then how do you know that killing babies is bad? How do you know?
Well, I don't think that that's what we agreed to discuss here. I'm trying to break down your worldview and your epistemology and how you justify the assertion you made, which is that the Bible is awful.
Jared, and I just explained to you how the Bible is awful, and you want to know how I know it's bad to mass murder people, and that's why the Bible is awful. That it's got you asking questions like that. That it's got you on here asking me to explain to you why mass murdering children and babies is bad. That's why the Bible is awful. I win. The end. Right? You're sitting here trying to say that it's crazy that I think the God of the Bible mass murdering babies is bad. You're like, explain to me why that's bad. The fact that you don't know, the fact that you need me to empirically demonstrate this to you is all the evidence we need that your book is terrible, right?
I wouldn't say that, again, what I'm trying to get at here is when you claim, okay, I know this is wrong because I don't like it, because I have a series of emotions that tells me that. Well, we can go across many different examples in human history where people's emotions were in the other direction, and they could use such an argument, basically the same logic in different contexts, to justify whatever they wanted.
Jared,
and I often find when I discuss this,
would you agree that this whole conversation hinges on the definition of awful?
I would agree that yes, and with anything you might come up with that's synonymous with awful. So bad, wrong, evil, we can use any interchangeable term.
Correct. And you would agree that awful often is used subjectively.
Yeah, I would say that From a phenomenological perspective, it's always subjective.
Yeah. So you would agree that we didn't put up and to be fair, Austin, I didn't, neither of us put this up. We did not say the Bible is objectively awful.
No, you didn't say that the Bible is objectively awful.
So
you didn't
you
use
are
the word
currently
objective.
right. So you are currently trying to somehow use philosophy words to somehow say that killing babies isn't awful because you want to use this in a philosophical sense, in some kind of objective sense. And neither of us here agree that objective morality is a thing. And so when we are when we are making the positive claim here that the Bible is awful, it may well be, it's not necessarily for me, but it may well be that we're just talking about this is awful in the same way that someone might think a specific food is awful. We are expressing a subjective opinion that the Bible is awful.
All right, that's perfect. Now we're getting somewhere. I would like, if you're willing, to go in a little bit to the nature of how civilizations orient themselves around social contracts.
No, I didn't get my chance to tell you why I think the Bible's awful.
Yeah, let's listen to Paul's answer first, please.
You're right. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's hear your answer.
Yeah.
I think the main awful thing about the Bible, and awful in this subjective sense, because subjective is all that we have, is that it's not true. And by not being true, I mean truth in the sense that it does not correspond well to reality. And because it is not true, but is used as if it is true, there are all kinds of cascading effects that I deem to be awful in a subjective way. That is why I think the Bible is awful. That's the most awful thing I think about the Bible. What do you have questions about that?
I understand that. When you say corresponding to reality, are you saying that the metaphysical claims appear to be false, or that from a more phenomenological standpoint, applying the principles of the Bible in one's own inner life would lead them astray from what we can accurately observe about reality? Like, which of those would you say more represents your perspective?
Both. So it is both historically inaccurate and metaphysically non-demonstrable. It's non-falsifiable in its metaphysical claims, and in some cases, in terms of doctrines that have been layered upon it, actually creates odd contradictions. But that's not my primary concern. My primary concern is that it is historically non-tenable, and if the Jesus in there didn't rise, and if the Jesus in there wasn't the Messiah, and yet it is used as if those two things prop up the truth of the rest of it, then it's awful.
Okay. Yeah, I understand what you're saying there. In terms of the historicity, I agree with you that from our perspective, most of the metaphysical claims are unfalsifiable, and all of the metaphysical claims are unfalsifiable to the standard of proof that we would measure a scientific truth in the modern day.
Or not even the scientific proof; it would just be, historical, or there's lots of different methodologies under which it fails. Science is just one of them.
Sure. I'm just saying that when we look at claims being made, in say the Pauline epistles, we can examine evidence that pertains to what is being described there. But for something like the creation narrative in Genesis, that's totally unfalsifiable.
or that
there's
Jesus
no
died
way.
for our
There's no
sins,
way.
for example. Yep, there's just you can't demonstrate that. Yeah. By the way, I'm still envious of Austin. Austin, you just nailed that. I'm so envious.
Well,
carry on, Jared.
I'm just sitting here just going like, hey man, like I know what you're trying to get to. We've done this show for a really long time. You're trying to get to the idea that there can be no objective morality without God. But we're not arguing that morality can be something that can be objectively quantified or agreed on. I'm just sitting here looking at you going like, I think the concept of sending people to an eternal torture realm because they don't believe the same way that you do is bad. And you want to come back at me and go, but why is it bad? And the fact that you don't understand that is the justification for why I think that the way I think. Like the fact that you don't understand why mass murder and genocide is bad, the fact that you don't understand why advocating for child rape and slavery is bad, the fact that you don't understand those things, like, is proof in my mind that I'm a better person than you, and that your personal morality, your subjective morality, has been eroded and corrupted and poisoned by this fucking book.
Anyway, sorry. Yeah, and I derail. I should not have interrupted you, Jared. You were asking questions about history. My apologies. I derailed that. That's on me. Carry on, please, about your historical question that you had there.
Right. So, if I might just address the other gentleman real quick.
Sure.
Sure.
So, when you say, for example, right, that I'm trying to pin you down in this sort of 12th century argument that, you know, there's no objective morality without God. I'm sure you encounter that a lot, and what I'm saying is thematically in that area, but that's not specifically where I was wanting to go. What I'm trying to point out is when you measure biblical errors that you find that you don't like, or you're evaluating anything morally, you have to give the Bible some credit for the degree to which it's influenced modern Western thinking. So there's very, there's very little, if you really get into it, argument to be made for a sort of secular humanist perspective that is totally divorced from biblical morality. That would be a very difficult thing
Jared,
to assert.
I am so disinterested in argument we can't rerun history to try it with a different ideology. So I'm so disinterested in the effect Christianity had in the same way that a forest fire had a massive impact. It's like, okay, yeah, it did.
Neither one of us is going to argue that, like, oh no, Christianity and the Bible had no effect whatsoever in shaping Western civilization. It's like, that's not the argument we're making. I don't, and then you're saying, oh, could we have gotten there the same way with secular humanism? I think our argument is we would have been in a much better situation if we could have earlier found in our evolution, but we can't.
We think that. But we can't prove it because we can't rerun history.
Yeah,
so
all we can do is right now in this instance, look at our personal subjective moral standard versus your personal subjective moral standard and go, whose sounds better? And right now, you sound like a fucking freak, dude. No offense, but full offense. Like you're sitting here trying to justify like the most disgusting shit I can imagine, and you're asking me, why is that bad? I don't know, dude. If you don't know, I don't know how to explain it to you.
I would argue that when you are able to look at core principles that are demonstrated repeatedly across the biblical corpus, and you understand that a lot of the parables and stories and accounts in the Bible are not written to be taken literally, but to demonstrate moral conflict, it's going to be a lot harder to kind of have a completely singular moral worldview, right? You say I'm defending terrible things, and I'm a
Jared, is
fundamentalist.
slavery bad? Jared, is slavery bad?
Yes, slavery is bad.
Okay, is impregnating children bad? 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 11-year-olds, is that bad? Having sex with them and putting babies in them?
Certainly, yes.
Is infanticide bad? Murdering babies?
Infanticide, yes, on its own.
Is genocide and
categorically
ethnic cleansing bad? Is it bad to target entire populations of people and ethnically cleanse them and kill them en masse because you just don't want that population to exist anymore?
Yeah, that's
all of those things are
something.
advocated for by your God and carried out by your God in the Bible. So what are we talking about here?
That's not necessarily true.
Okay.
That last thing that you stated. When you say, for example, that is ethnic cleansing bad, or is a war against an ethnic group bad, you can point to the harm that causes, and you can.
What are we doing? You already conceded it. You already said yes, it's bad. What are we doing? Why are you now trying to go? Well, like. What are we doing, dude? Why are you trying so hard to specially plead for? But it's okay when my God does it. It's okay when it's in the Bible. It's all bad unless it's in the book that I like. You came in here trying to say, why do we think the Bible is awful? I told you. You agreed that the things that I mentioned are in there are bad. And now you're trying to say, well, it's different when it's in the book because maybe it's a parable. Maybe it's an allegory. Maybe it's not literal. When my God does it, it's different. Your special pleading, is it bad or not?
Well, you couldn't make the statement that it's bad from your own worldview because you can, again, like I
we talked about this.
You can point to.
We talked about this. We're talking about subjective authality.
Yes, but we're pointing to things that are inevitable across human history. So it's kind of an armchair act.
Commanding armies to commit infanticide is inevitable?
I'm saying across history, if you were to examine it, you're going to inevitably run into that happening, and people are going to engage in those conflicts.
It didn't have to be if your God didn't design it that way, right? If your God wasn't the one like setting it up that way, organizing Western civilization so that infanticide is at the cornerstone of how we carry out warfare, didn't have to be that way, right? Your God made it part of it, right?
No, that would not be based in any sort of theological understanding right there, that last statement.
All right. Okay. All right.
We're still talking about subjective authality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's if you don't believe in God, right, you can express distaste for things, but to claim that it's axiomatically evil, well, again, as we said, you can't base that objectively, so it's subjective, and then we would have to work out how that plays out in the world. How are you going to contribute
do we
to
really want to do
that?
Do we really want to do a philosophy
subjective
thing? Audience, do you want us to talk about? Because Jared, you seem to really want to talk about objective morality and not the thing that you said you wanted to talk about.
All right, I was trying to get to the practicality of holding subjective views and tastes, because as a society, we need to have a central agreement. So you're going to have to do better than just saying.
Why, Jared? Jared, why do we need to have a central agreement?
I think we could demonstrate historically that civilizations that have one or at least something resembling an ethic that people can agree upon, causes them to function better.
Oh, so
Why the
flourishing?
fuck would
Wait,
we
no.
base that off of? Yeah, sorry, keep going. Sorry.
So flourishing. So you're putting above. So the reason why we need to agree to something is flourishing. Is that what you're telling me?
That is a reason that you can support.
Okay, then what's the better
Agreed.
reason? You gave flourishing as the reason. What's the better reason than flourishing?
A better reason would be that it's axiomatic to our nature to respect and love each other.
How so?
According to
How so?
Because a better reason being,
And
if
also,
we
if
are
it's
created,
if it's axiomatic, then we would all just do it.
I'm okay. Hold on. Let me clarify. I'm saying a better justification would be to adhere to the idea that we are axiomatically
Why?
made to respect
Why? Is it
and love each
flourishing?
other.
Is the answer flourishing? Why would it be better? You told me it's better. Why would it be better? Under what criteria?
Because that's something that isn't subject really to debate. And
No. Flourishing is absolutely subject to debate. But are you telling me that you at the top of this chain is always going to be flourishing? That's why we need it.
No, I would not argue that. I was trying to give a reason why, but I would not say in like the hierarchy of values that
in the hierarchy of reasons why any of us should care that we have common morality. What's at the top?
I would argue something like truthful selfdom.
What does that mean?
The ability for people on average in a group to bring forth who they are.
This is flourishing. This is flourishing.
Not in a material sense, but you could argue flourishing.
It is absolutely flourishing, whether it's in the okay. So do we need a God to value flourishing?
No. You would not need a God to value flourishing.
Don't. So if you have 1,000 people in a room and 700 care about flourishing, they can get together and debate what helps flourishing and what doesn't. And the 300 who are not obligated to care about flourishing will shout out random things, and the rest of us are like, look, we're over here talking about flourishing. We don't care. This is all subjective, you get, right? You don't have to care about flourishing. You put flourishing at the top, and you've agreed that you don't really actually have to care about flourishing if you don't want
to. Sure. But there are other examples there where we would run into trouble. I don't think it would be as cut and dry as you demonstrated in your example.
Maybe not. But when we said the Bible is subjectively awful, I don't like it because it's not true. Austin doesn't like it because it has moral qualities that he finds distasteful. And those are both subjective things. And you have been pressing us to say, well, no, a subjective awfulness isn't good enough. And all we're trying to say is all awfulness, all bad, all morality is subjective, even yours. So as long as we agree on the definition of awful, we can have this fight. If we disagree on the definition of awful, then it's like a pigeon playing chess.
Okay. I'll grant you that. We'll go with that.
Okay. So, do we want to talk? Where do you want to go with this conversation? So, do you want to talk more about? Do you want to defend that the Bible is true? Did you want to ask me more questions about it, or should we leave on this point of agreement that subjective awfulness is all we've got, and that we've met our burden of subjective awfulness?
I'll maintain, and we'll probably have to agree to disagree, that it is not consistent to say, to any extent, that awfulness is subjective, but then to make a moral claim about the Bible. So I understand, right? You guys have admitted, okay, well, I just think the
Yeah, you're
Bible is
right.
awful according to my taste.
Yeah, you're right. That's what subjective means. So it's not agree to disagree. Subjective means we like, I mean, that is what it is. It's like we agree that like we have a disagreement on subjective morality. We have a subjective disagreement on our personal moral frameworks. Personally, I think all of the things that I outlined are morally distasteful and bad, and you seem to disagree, and I think that that's fucking insane. But that's okay. We disagree on that. And I think you're having a really hard time in this conversation with the fact that you know the way that you disagree with me is fucked up. You can't justify why all that stuff is okay, but you want there to be an objective standard, and that's the problem. There just isn't. So you're right. Subjectively, we will have to agree to disagree, and you will have to live with the fact that you are trying to rationalize a worldview where infanticide and slavery and genocide and mass rape and all of that shit is okay if your God says it is. Where torturing people forever for not believing the correct way is okay if your God says it is. And you will have to sit and try to figure out why that's okay in your subjective moral lens. And that's all right. We can end on an agreement to disagree on that.
I think this is a good point where we could maybe debate a little more if you're all right with that.
What do you want to debate?
One, I don't think that the Bible is attempting to justify things that are depicted in the Bible. So I don't think that moral license is necessarily being given to all the things that's depicted. And, you know, for example, when you look at like the meta ethic of the Bible, I don't think it is asserting eternal torture for people who do not attest.
That's gonna be a huge relief when I am burning forever. But I can say, but Jared told me that that's not his interpretation of the book. That's going to be a huge relief.
Well, I'm not pointing to my own interpretation. I'm pointing into the collective interpretation, and that is a highly debated thing amongst Christians, and I don't just mean people on the internet.
That's part of my problem with it as well. As I stated earlier, and that's also part of my problem is that like you guys can't fucking agree on shit. Like you got like that's one of my big problems with it. I talked about it earlier in this call. It's just that like you just said it. Even amongst Christians, we can't agree on what these things are supposed to mean in these
the
texts.
Unimportant thing of my eternal nation.
That's a huge problem, Jared. That's a huge problem that you can't agree on those things. You can't agree on whether or not God is giving moral license for infanticide and for genocide and for slave owning. You can't agree on those things. That's a problem. It's a major ethical and moral problem with this text that you are basing your entire life around. I'll go ahead and give it to you that, yeah, you guys can't agree on it. That's all right. I'll cede that point to you, and I would say it poses a huge problem with the philosophy that you've chosen to base your life on.
I understand your perspective there. I would like to point out, though, that many of these things are only hotly debated sort of out of a sense of charity, where we want to include certain people in the conversation, even if what they're saying is not based in any meaningful scholarship of the
So what?
Bible.
So, okay, so serious
That's
academic scholarship. What does it say? What's the serious academic consensus amongst serious scholars of the Bible? Is slavery okay? Is genocide okay? Is infanticide okay? Is rape okay? What is the consensus?
well, hold on. If you just let me
No,
kind of
God
finish my
damn it.
point
No,
there.
not well, hold on.
Well,
Just fucking answer the question. God.
it's hard for us to get anywhere if you just got to respond to kind of my full my point there. I'm not saying, right, there's like this objective center in Christianity that's academic scholarship. I'm saying what by and large you would find to be the majority consensus opinion from people that study the theology of the Bible.
I don't believe that's a
So for
real thing that can I don't I yeah, but whatever. I am done debating you on this. I'm going to go to the bathroom. I want to say for our audience, Paul knows more about the Bible than I do. Paul studies this stuff better than I do. Listen to Paul when he talks about biblical accuracy and biblical scholarship. I'm a fucking idiot, but I apologize to Paul. I'm sorry, Paul, for losing my cool at you. That wasn't about you. And Paul is
oh no,
smarter than me when it
you and
yeah.
I are always going to be good. No.
Yes.
There was nothing.
I just wanted to say that in front of everyone, in front of the audience, but I'm going to go to the
Yeah.
bathroom. You can keep talking to Jared.
All right, Jared. Uh,
yes,
I feel like, well, I feel like you were giving me a version of the Bible is descriptive, not prescriptive. Is that
Okay.
or was
Sorry,
I misinterpreting what you were saying?
prescriptive or proscriptive? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said, sorry, that's fair. I often hear the argument that the Bible is descriptive, not prescriptive, as in, not everything in the Bible is meant to be taken as a command. It describes people doing bad things, and that's not, yeah.
That would not. No. You're right. There are very ethically hotly debated prescriptions in the Bible. That's for certain. But a lot of it, if you look at it in detail, is not. A lot of what's discussed in the Old Testament is written in a particular type of poetic rabbinical language in the Hebrew, where
Right.
if you take it through English and you look at like the King James Bible version of things, you really can get off base with what.
Yeah, I don't read the King James. Not the original languages is best. So, but we didn't quite get to it. But did did you want to talk about the? Did you still want to talk about whether the Bible is true, or you said that you kind of said there's another thing we can debate about if you're willing, and I never really have even discovered what that topic is going to be. So, which would you prefer?
Oh, what I was going to go into there was hell, because the other gentleman there
Awesome.
has repeatedly brought that up.
Yeah. So you also seem to infer that that people who believe in eternal conscious torment are not serious Bible scholars. Is that what I'm hearing from you? There are no serious Bible scholar holds to eternal conscious torment.
No, there are scholars that do hold to that, but I would argue that you're not going to find that with most of them.
Define most, because evangelicals publish way more stuff. So if we're just doing head counts, the evangelicals are going to win. So you would need to qualify that statement.
Okay, good point. Give me a second to think about that. Can we reframe this discussion a little bit? Can we talk about
We
perhaps?
can, but it's weird. So the point is still going to stand that people whose credentials are top in the world, and for someone like Austin and I who are just dummies who are just looking at, we don't know if the Bible's true or not, we're going to be looking and saying, well, there's a whole bunch of PhDs on this side saying eternal conscious torment, and a handful, as far as I can tell, on this other side saying, and including my friend Bart Ehrman. Not that he's my friend, but we literally had this conversation with him yesterday. Bart believes that that Jesus taught annihilationism. Cool. So all these views are represented. But that's still, if you're us on Judgment Day, not helpful.
I would also just point out, Jared, just my pattern recognition lizard brain is noticing that every time you run into an area in this conversation where you're cornered and don't have a way out without conceding the point, you say, can we actually stop and reframe? Can we actually talk about this in a different way so that I can restructure the way I want to answer without having to concede that I was just, trapped and didn't have a way out. And I don't know if you're noticing that. I'm certainly noticing it. I would encourage you to take that home with you after this conversation and think about the fact that there were a lot of points in this conversation where you were stuck and you went, actually, can we reframe so that I don't have to just concede that I'm wrong about that?
Well, okay. I was just trying to hone in on what he was claiming there, because when it comes to hell, there's a difference between someone who doesn't understand that their version of hell came from Dante's Inferno versus a Bart Ehrman, right? There's a substantial difference there, and we really do need to understand who we're talking about if we're looking at.
Like this, you don't need Dante's Inferno to say that where the worm never dies and the fire never goes out, right? In the Old Testament, you can interpret those. Jesus quotes it, so you can definitely interpret that as eternal conscious torment. This is a book of non-clarity.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Some people. I
don't need Dante's Inferno for that.
Well, okay. I was using that as an example of someone that we would probably want to exclude from this conversation, but
Jared,
I
do you
agree.
see though that you keep doing it? You keep trying to reframe the terms of the conversation so that you can just keep cherry picking little parameters where you can keep your argument safe, where it can be safe from you having to concede any part of it. Anytime you get stuck in a situation where you have to go, okay, I get what that is, you reframe. Oh, well, you're getting that from Dante. It's all the same shit, man. You just keep trying to reframe the parameters of the discussion so you can keep your script safe. But we're nowhere closer to you demonstrating what your personal subjective morality is, why you think the Bible is good instead of awful. You started this conversation asking the question, what about the Bible is awful? Haven't heard you say a single thing about the Bible that you think is good, why you think it's good for society. I don't think that you're willing to actually just be honest about what it is that you believe and what it is that you think. And you're not actually at least at this point, you're not willing to make concessions or think, oh, you know what? I might have to think more about that. You just want to reframe anytime you get stuck.
That said, reframe.
Oh, okay, well, sorry.
Go ahead and reframe.
Okay, well, do you think then it's acceptable for a Christian who does not interpret the Bible as eternal conscious torment to debate about the effect of an afterworld on a person's existence in this life? Or do you think that because some Christians believe in eternal conscious torment, that pretty much any Christian believing the Bible has any degree of truth has to kind of throw out their argument there?
So I think a Christian is fair to do this, and seriously, I've never asked this question, and it's a good question. So you would be fair if you believe in annihilationism, for example, to reject the problems that we just talked about, any of the problems that we have about eternal conscious torment, and you say, well, my best study of this doesn't include eternal conscious torment, so you're not going to defend it. I think that is fair. That said, on our side of the table, we need to Pascal's wager this thing, right? We need to determine from our side whether or not the Bible is true, keeping in mind the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario for we non-believers is a not unreasonable interpretation of eternal conscious torment, right? So from our side of things, even the possibility of eternal conscious torment allows both of us at the same time to have these different categories. Would you agree?
I would say, yes, you could interpret the situation that way validly.
I'm just saying, but when we are looking at the Bible as to whether it's awful or not awful in a subjective sense, because we are going to be the recipient of the punishment, we need to consider the worst possible punishment. In the same way, like if I'm evaluating should I commit a crime, I might I might say, hey, am I willing to speed here? I might, okay, the range of a speeding ticket is X to Y, and I can afford Y, fine. But, am I willing to, crash my car into the person who's being an idiot in front of me? No, probably the punishment is worth, it's not worth it. On our side, we absolutely need to consider the worst possible version of the Bible because as we discussed, the metaphysical claims are non-falsifiable. Does that make sense?
Also, I would
that makes sense. That makes sense. Yes,
I'm glad that makes sense. I would also just add, Jared, that like the fact that you can say about all of these things, oh well, that particular thing does not vibe with my personal subjective interpretation of the text, and it's not a part of my personal epistemology. The fact that you can say that and that there are so many other self-identified Christians in the world who have a different interpretation and a different epistemology, the fact that doesn't cause you some amount of cognitive dissonance, knowing that so many different people who claim the same theology as you based on the same text have a completely different reading of that text and a completely different interpretation of that text and a completely different way that text informs their subjective morality, and that they're like, you're both, the fact that you think that your interpretation is correct and theirs isn't, I just think is something that it's like, I wish you would investigate that. I wish you would follow that thread and go, what does that mean? That like, is it more likely if you would, do a little Occam's razor, and like, is it more likely that I've got the specific perfect interpretation of this text that makes it so that all of the bad stuff in it isn't actually there and only the good stuff? Or is it more likely that I'm cherry picking and special pleading to make this thing a better version of what it actually is? I just, I wish you would think about that more when you clearly can see that your take on the Bible is not the unanimous consensus take. You've crafted a take here that allows you to feel better about it, but based on what? Like you're I don't know.
What if we had said, Jared, what if our first and only answer to why the Bible is awful is that we had said the Bible is awful because it's so ambiguous that people on both sides of an argument can hold up the Bible as their justification. And that's the only reason we think that the Bible is awful. What would you say to that?
I would, I would say that the Bible and does not instruct to think in those terms.
No, but it's a social reality, right? It's a social reality that people on both sides of arguments both hold up the Bible and both use the Bible to justify their completely opposite positions.
Yes, and probably the harshest warning in all of the words of Christ is against the people that use his name maliciously. So there's
Sure.
precedent for that in the Bible.
But is that? But wouldn't that be enough? Wouldn't that alone be enough reason for us to think that the Bible's awful?
I would disagree. I would say you could make a case for that using clear-cut kind of post-Enlightenment rationalism, but I disagree with that kind of thinking. To illustrate that, I would like to just circle back to what your friend said about reflecting on the differences between how I interpret the Bible, how certain Christians interpret the Bible, and how non-Christians interpret the Bible, and tie that into what you said, from your side of the aisle, having to make a gal's wager. I think you said. Well, I just want to point out to you, I'm in the same position. I don't know if I'm going to be damned or not. I don't have this viewpoint that I'm categorically going to heaven and you're categorically going to hell. And I don't think that you can gather that from the Bible. And I think that overwhelmingly the teaching rejects the notion of certainty.
Why
and
is that
control.
okay? You're defending that that's okay, that is not a bug in the Bible. Why is that not a bug?
Well, if we get into a little bit of like psychologically flavored philosophy, I think we can prove with a great deal of evidence that patterns of thinking aimed at control and certainty, can lead a person to the development of various mental health problems and neurosis, chiefly. And so
you better get to a point quick, my friend. You better get it.
Jared, do you believe that the Bible is the word? Jared, hold on. Do you believe that the Bible is the word of God?
Well, that's a very complicated question, but to quickly answer it, no, I don't. And the Bible doesn't really say that either. That's not.
So what do you? So you believe that like the Bible is like a bunch of people's rough interpretation of the words of God, and that like some of them got it wrong, and so you think the Bible is full of what do you mean? I mean, I just like. Isn't it a problem to you that this is supposed to be a record of the intentions and the mind of the supernatural divine creator of the universe, and you and other people who claim it as a spiritual text, a foundational text for their own personal theology and epistemology, cannot agree on what it means? And you seem to have like a pretty open-minded academic approach to it, but like, don't you see the problem that if this is supposed to be the blueprint, the roadmap for civilization's best chance at operating in a healthy way, it's not good that nobody can agree on what the fuck it means?
I don't think it's bad that there's disagreement on what it means. And to answer your earlier question, I think the Bible is claiming that Jesus Christ is the Word of God. So
okay,
kind of back to my earlier point, right?
Get there quick
with Paul. Yeah. So what I was meaning was, again, I don't think that it's problematic or bad to be in a place of uncertainty about things in life. And I don't think that the Bible is trying to push people towards that position, or that it declares damnation over people in clear-cut terms.
Sounds like you have a really open-minded, cool, subjective interpretation of this book that everybody interprets differently. Why the fuck should we care?
Well, it's not just
why should we care about
opinion,
your...
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
Sure, and I guess you guys you're used to maybe debating kind of the evangelical or Protestant crowd a little bit.
I don't. Oh my God! I'm talking about you. I'm saying you're giving us your personal interpretation of the Bible that you've crafted. This personal narrative sounds cool. Sounds like you've got a little bit of a cooler God than seems to be depicted in the book. You've kind of made some changes to the text and changes to the characterization of who's in there based on your idea of like, maybe some people got it wrong. Whatever. I don't give a fuck. Why should we care about your subjective interpretation? Why does it matter? Who cares that you decided that it means something different for you?
Well, this whole conversation, you've been defending your ability to describe things as good or bad based on your subjective morality. So if I assert that my interpretation, which is, yes, personal to a degree, but also backed in scholarship, can provide things that I'm certain we would agree are beneficial. How is my argument less worthy than yours? If you state that, you can make judgments based off of subjective
I
morality,
feel like that's factually.
Yeah, sure.
That's probably fair, right?
Yeah,
It's probably like we
totally.
think the Bible's subjectively awful, and he thinks the Bible's subjectively useful.
And actually, I would say exactly. That from the jump, we have had no problem with the fact that we have subjectively different takes on this text and subjectively different takes on the nature of morality, and we are okay with that. And I would still say, subjectively, I'm going to go ahead and just continue arguing that my subjective feeling that infanticide and genocide and mass murder are bad, and your inability to grasp those concepts is really disturbing. And sure, we have a subjective disagreement on that. And I guess your subjective take that they're somehow defensible is just as valid as mine. I just think mine's better because I am the subjective one thinking that.
Well, yeah, of course. Jared, I've enjoyed this conversation. I'd be happy to talk to you again in the future, but we've been at this for an hour. I feel like so we probably should move on for this time. But thank you so much for joining us, for holding our feet to the fire for a platitude that we did not invent, but we're happy to defend. So thank you. Have a great night.
You as well. Thank you very much for having me on.
Take care, Jared.
Yeah, you take care.
All right.
Oh, it didn't hang up on me. All right. Okay. Well, that was an adventure.
Paul, I apologize again for my lost temper.
And I apologize that you said a thing that I don't like being on the screen when it's being said. So sorry about that.
And I think I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I'm more talking about just in practice, the fact that if you go to 100 different churches on Sunday, you're gonna hear 100 different people telling you what a specific book means and how to interpret it. That actively in active practice, it is still continually being.
So you can phrase it that way.
Yes.
And not not make statements that make the rest of us look bad.
Fair.
by saying things that are factually inaccurate about the manuscripts. So,
that is fair.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have one last caller. We're in overtime minutes now. What do they call it? Extra time? What's the soccer thing? Extra time. We're in extra time. We determined there was an injury on the play. We're going into a few exercises, and we're going to talk to. And look, this sounds like a conversation that's going to make me crazy. So we'll see how this goes.
All right.
I hope it goes well.
Yeah.
David, welcome to Sunday Show After Dark with Austin and Paul. What do you got for us? And please make me care quickly because we're in extra time.
Well, hello. I will then try and be quick. First time caller here to say some stuff. This will either
Thanks
be
for waiting, though. We appreciate you waiting. Yep.
No problem. This will either be a palate cleanser or annoy you. Sorry. I'm an atheist, 100%. But I'm offering a defense for deism. I don't have a good reason for that, but I'm going to. So I guess I have
Okay,
made up a religion.
So hold
Okay.
on, but are you going to defend why I should care about deism? Or are you going to
Okay,
try to
so
defend the truth claim of deism? Which of
I
those
will
two?
neither. I
Oh,
will
go.
try to.
Okay.
I'm trying to suggest this as something that theists should consider, not atheists. And I don't think that the truism of it matters, because I believe any statement I make should exist entirely inside of non-falsifiable gaps. So the question
I'm
is,
skeptical, but you roll with it.
let's roll with it. So I want to note first, the Kalam cosmological argument is incredibly bad, and I really dislike it for all Abrahamic religions. But I do feel it's plausible as a faith statement in deism. So a huge amount of humanity appears to desire to have faith in a god. So maybe proposing something that fills the unfillable gaps with something more internally consistent would be a positive baby step. So maybe for billions of theists out there, believing in this would be easier. So the deism would be, God caused the Big Bang before the current space-time. God has zero contact or impact in our universe. The universe is a science puzzle for life to figure out. God is not omni at all, and the afterlife is left definitively unknown because people seem to want that. Whether it is true, as I said, is immaterial, because I would not want to be making a non-falsifiable claim. But the important question, which I suppose I would give you two, is, would the benefits of this fairly harmless faith be worth the risk of its somewhat fragile epistemology?
My simple answer is I don't even understand what the benefits would be at all. I hear that and I go, sure, whatever. I don't.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
I think
say
the question
no.
would be
Yeah, I mean, my answer is no, because I'm like, I don't know.
To you two,
yeah.
To you two, I would agree with that, and that would be my response to it as well. The question is, to me, is just, I listen to the call-in shows, and I listen to very bad arguments and very bad defenses, because often they're defending the indefensible for things that don't make any sense. If
what you are
people want to believe in a god,
you are encouraging poor epistemology, and I don't care.
But
honestly, I don't care. I care more about the harm that Christian and religious epistemology does. And I know this is a personal thing, and it's from a huge position of privilege that I can even say this, and I acknowledge that. But from my incredibly privileged position, the epistemology of it is the downstream problem. You have people voting for who they voted for because they were given this authoritative epistemology, so they're applying it, or a science denial epistemology, and they're applying it. What I'm advocating for is believing true things for good reason. And so throwing up your hands and saying, well, here's a non-falsifiable claim, accept it for no reason whatsoever, other than that it seems to scratch an itch, is on that score. On that score, it is just as bad. You're believing something for not sufficient reason.
There is definitely not reason to believe it, but there are lots of people who do believe in faith. So, the goal here is something that still upholds secular humanism. It upholds science. It says nothing about anything. It would offer no dogma or how to operate in the world that we live in.
Does it really add utility from someone who's I'm just spiritual, not religious, or I'm a nun? Like, does this really add?
The only thing I could see it adding, and that's the only reason I'd make the point, is whether it'd be a benefit if more theists believe this instead of what they currently believe. Is it a
Do
better
you think
step? Is it an improvement?
When you called, did you think that it did?
Do I think it's an
And
improvement
why?
for me?
No, for them.
Is this a-
And again, this drives me crazy because when I were talking down to the person who I used to be, it's like, oh, poor Paul can't come to reality, so let's give him a placebo pill that is less bad than the other pill he's taking. Like, that drives me crazy too. But when you called in, would you have answered yes to the fact, like, is this better?
Do I think this is better than
For
even
those
poorer
so those poor
epistemology?
people?
Yes.
Yeah. So you think this is better epistemology than theism because the answer is less wrong?
Well, if the answer is not provably wrong, then it's definitively less wrong. So yes, absolutely, that is the suggestion. It is, I think, definitively less wrong because it can't be proven wrong. But also has none of the overhanging harm in it. And
Of course, it does. It has some of the harm elements because it's teaching them to accept conclusions, to come
Without
to
evidence.
concrete conclusions with insufficient evidence.
Yeah, I would argue, David, you seem like a really genuinely nice and fun guy, but I would mostly this conversation, especially in the bonus time of the show, is just sort of like, it's kind of just like a, hey, what if this, guys? And it's like, my answer to it is like, I don't know, man. What if? It's just like, sounds interesting, sure, but I agree with Paul that, like, essentially, if we're talking about, like, is this better? It's like, it's the same thing, right? We're still just we're just teaching people that it's okay to just go, if there are gaps in our knowledge about the origin of all things, you can plug in some magic answer, and you're coming up with a particular one that you're like, this one's less harmful, right? Because this is a non-interventionalist deity who's not judging you for your sins and not going to hold, doesn't demand anything of you, so it's less harmful. But I still think it's a problem because we're still teaching a form of rationalizing and thinking that's not pragmatic and useful. It's just sort of like, I don't know. Yeah.
In your head, is this different than flying spaghetti monster?
I think the implication is the flying spaghetti monster might affect the reality. Other than that, not per se.
And what do you think that a believer who hears the flying spaghetti monster, what do you think that they hear when they hear that kind of thing?
Well, and correct. Like they would hear what is obviously being a parody of their faith. And I'm sure theists would look at a lot of deists and view that as a parody of their faith. So, and that's that I think is the biggest risk.
And do you think that's a winning strategy here?
Winning? No. Compromise? Maybe. I just felt the need to.
It's only a compromise if you don't.
Question.
It's only a compromise if you can win them over, and insulting them and being pandering and condescending. I don't think you can get a concession out of that. At least not the kind of Christian I was. I can only speak for the kind of believer I was, and this would have sounded very patronizing, personally.
That's fair.
So, but
anyway,
David,
thank you very much,
David. I want to just emphasize, you sound like a delightful person.
Yeah,
totally. And I'm so glad that you called, and you are catching us at the end. At the end of we've been through some stuff.
Yeah,
I heard it all
the last couple hours, and so please accept that we think you're delightful and appreciate you. But I think this is not a winner in terms of strategy.
100%. I'm just sitting here and I'm like, my partner just finished making dinner and I want to go eat dinner. And David, you sound lovely. And
all right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Go have your dinner. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thanks, David. Yeah. Cool.
I knew that. I've been watching that one for a couple hours now. I'm like, I knew that's how that was going to go. Anyway.
Yeah.
This was a pleasure, despite what maybe appeared to be you and I are on the same page.
Yes.
I loved so many of your answers. So yeah, no,
As I did yours.
This was a pleasure for me just to be a participant, not even anyway. Enjoy your dinner. Thank you so much to our call screeners, to our producer Lux, to everyone who's a patron of the show, for everyone who just watched and commented and helped us in the algorithm. And thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.